Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one. 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV, tonight's broadcast of the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown race number 6. The championship within a championship comes to the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 200 miles around this racetrack, and it is set to be a spectacular race. I'm Peter Short. Joining me here tonight in the booth is Greg Rentz. And Greg, not your first time at Indianapolis this week. Of course, you've been here the past couple nights. Tell us a little bit about this famed racetrack and how difficult it is to get around here with these very heavy stock cars.
Oh, it is so difficult to get around this racetrack, Peter. I was able to call a race last night in this exact same format. Cup cars, 80 laps at Indianapolis. It's a mirror image to the race I called last night, and it's going to be wild because that race just turned into one of the most unpredictable races of the year. The current aero package that these cars use, it just makes this race so much fun. The draft is right there, and it makes it really a race that anybody can be in contention to win as long as they play it safe, keep the car clean early in the race. If you keep it clean, you'll be in contention to win at the end of the race if you play your cards right.
Absolutely, and of course, one of the storylines that we're going to have to talk about here tonight is qualifying, because 20 cars are locked into the show, the top 20 in points, that is. And currently that bubble line is held by Tim Knott. He is just 3 points above the number 66 of Edward Bray, with the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson on the hood of that machine. But there's the top 10 in points. They're all locked in. John Jenkins leading the way over Greg Evans with his 6 wins. Tyler Seville sitting in 3rd. Mitch Brown in 4th. Brian Yazik in 5th. And then Krobach, Warsler, Jimmy McKee, who had a runner-up finish last week at the Chicagoland Speedway. Great race. If you didn't see that one, make sure you check that finish out because it was a spectacular one. Jason Stewart and Troy Haight rounding out your top 10 in points there. But that 20th place points position is so important because you get locked into the show. Typically, in the American Sim Racing Series, we have a pre-qualifying session, because there's only about 43 grid spots in the pit road. Well, here at Indianapolis, there are 55 pit stalls, which actually allows us to do knockout qualifying here in the actual race session. So we're going to bring you live knockout qualifying here. 40 cars will start tonight's event. And right now, based off my timing and scoring, we have 44 cars entered right now. So 4 cars that are not already in the top 20 in points will be going home here briefly. There you see the man who's 21st in points. He's the first driver who has to qualify on time, and hopefully Ed Bray and that number 66 machine can do so as he races down the backstretch. A very, very fast racetrack here, Greg. Of course, this racetrack has been raced by the Indy cars going back to the early 1900s, but it wasn't until the mid-90s that stock cars finally made it to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And this racetrack, since it is a large rectangle, a lot of brakes get used here. A lot of drivers talk about saving tires in the corners because you do have to scrub off a lot of speeds here from the front stretch to get into these 90-degree corners.
Yeah, it makes it so difficult for these drivers to get a good lap going. We talked about it last night that this is a very, very, very technical racetrack, and you're going to see it here on 3-Wide TV tonight with the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, because these drivers are some of the best on iRacing, and they're in for a challenge tonight. Like you mentioned, they're going to be using heavy brake on corner entry, trying to size it up and nail that perfect corner all 4 times, and that was a challenge in the Northwest Racing Series race I called last night, with getting a perfect lap and getting all 4 corners perfect. It was very rare that someone was able to do it. We saw a lot of drivers struggling with loose cars on corner exits, so I'm expecting to see more of the same tonight as the first few cars are completing their laps right now. Led out by Ed Bray is going to set the bar at a 52.666. A little bit of an interesting number there, but he quickly gets knocked off by Tyler Seville, 51.851, and Mitch Brown, 51.857. 4 drivers so far broke the 51-second bracket early.0
Ed Bray's first lap definitely not what he was looking for. You can see the pace on the left-hand side of the screen. He's about 0.8 of a second down from Tyler Seville, who currently has the fastest lap. We'll have to see if Ed Bray can pick it up on lap number 2. Here comes the number 34 machine, Kelsey Rogers, flashing across the yard of bricks down here at the front of this racetrack. And there is AJ Digby, got a top 3, his first podium in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series last week at Chicagoland Speedway. He was absolutely ecstatic, and that man right there, his favorite racetrack in the whole world is this one right here, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He told us last week he's very much looking forward to it, as that number 14 gonna go across the yard of bricks as well. Currently, Brad Lee, J.R. Bash, John Van Bareilles, and Todd Kirkwood are the bottom 4 and in danger of not qualifying for tonight's race. Here comes the number 50 machine, Christopher Bouchard, down the front stretch across the yard of bricks. And Bouchard going to drive off here into turn number 1. Looks like he is on his first of his 2 qualifying laps, working his way now into turn number 2. There's Brian Yazik. Yazik been doing a lot of IndyCar here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway recently. HPPsimulations.com on the hood of that machine. He did not turn a lap here in practice that was up to speed in that Ford. We'll have to see if Yazik can pick it up here in qualifying.
New quick time. Greg Evans, 6 wins on the year and won most of the SERVPRO Showdown races, and there you go, getting loose off turn number 2. Fortunately for him, first lap was right on the money, 51.700. He's on top of the charts right now, and he is not worried about sliding off turn number 2 on lap number 2, because he's sitting pretty well over a 10th off second pace. He's a 10th and a half up on the rest of the field.
We have 4 drivers yet to turn a time. Doug Mullins in the number 18. There he is. Christopher Bouchard, John Gallagher, and Brian Yazik have all yet to put across a time. Yazik not in danger because he is in the top 20 in points. He is going to jump that number 55 machine up into the top 10 here in qualifying. There's the number 18 machine. He will put that race car as well up into the top 30, so he will be in the show. Drivers yet to take a time, John Gallagher and Christopher Bouchard. Bouchard here coming out of turn number 4 right now. He got loose, and Bouchard definitely had to woe that one up there, Greg. We've mentioned it, that we're going to see some loose race cars, especially on corner exit. We saw it right there out of this number 50 machine, and he has yet to put in a lap time in that machine. So I'm not quite sure why that lap wasn't counted, but you can see him sawing on that wheel through turn number 1, getting loose again in turn number 2, and Bouchard still trying to hang on to it. This is not what Bouchard wants here, Greg, because that number 50 machine He is in the top 20 in points, so he is locked in. So that is the good news for Christopher Bouchard. He just wants as good of a starting spot as he can get in that Ford Mustang.
And he has been wicked loose. I've been watching him. He is still fighting that thing through turn 3, now into turn 4. Little bit better through 4 this time than it was last time, but that number 50 is just all kinds of loose, and this is going to be definitely something that he's going to want to get a handle on come race time. As he takes the checker flag, he will get a time as a 52.282, 24th quick. And John Gallagher has loaded up and put it on the trailer. So, Peter, that should be the final car to take time here. Bouchard coming home 24th on that. And looks like Greg Evans has locked up a pole board here in the number 2 duct tape Chevy, as a couple drivers out there. I believe this is the 63 of Adam Jersky that we're seeing come out and do a couple extra practice laps after setting his time.
Yeah, and
So
I'm wondering if
laps in.
I was gonna say, I'm wondering if Adam Jersky here is gonna come down pit road, get a little bit of pit practice. So we are expecting about 35 to 38 laps on fuel. It's gonna be very difficult for these drivers to stretch it 40 laps to get to the halfway mark. Speaking of practicing getting to pit road, there's the number 7 machine. Very, very fast last week at the Chicagoland Speedway. That's John Jenkins, super clean degreaser cleaner on the hood. And, you know, Greg, there is a possibility here tonight of going caution free. There is a bounty as well on these drivers. If they can race caution free, the top finishers without any incident points, I believe, will end up with $10 a piece. So it is a $70 bounty coming into tonight. And I'm sure some of these drivers are thinking about that. We do have confirmation on the 4 drivers who will be packing it up and going home. Todd Kirkwood, J.R. Bash, Bradley, and John Gallagher are all going to have to load up onto their haulers and try again next week, because they will be going no further here at Brickyard for the 6th round of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. The Brickyard 200, as all these drivers right here getting just a little bit extra practice time in. There's Yazik, mentioned that he's done a lot of IndyCar here over the last couple of weeks, trying to get some stock car action. And there is the beautiful pagoda in the infield of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Those flags high atop that pagoda as we circle around. Of course, added to this racetrack around the year 2000 for the inception of the United States Grand Prix, when it was held here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And a very cool feature around this racetrack.
So, Peter, you were talking about Brian Yazik has turned a lot of laps in Indy cars this week, getting ready for this race, sitting 7th on the speed charts right now in the HPP Simulations Ford. What kind of an advantage do those laps give you at this track? Yes, it is the laps on the racetrack as we go on board with Yazik, who's still turning practice laps, but it is an entirely different type of car. So what is the advantage that Yazik has exactly from running those IndyCar races here?
Well, it's very difficult to compare the high downforce, high-speed IndyCar to these much lower downforce, very, very heavy stock cars. I mean, the only thing is going to be probably hitting your marks, finding where the grip is around this racetrack in a different type of car. You know, really, these iRacing racetracks are very sensitive usually when it comes to the line that you run, and getting a little bit extra practice, maybe even in a different type of car, will teach you where the grip is, where to go on the racetrack in the center of the corner, how to back up your corners, and maybe even save a little bit of tire by running a better line. But they're so different animals between the IndyCar and the stock cars that Yazik probably won't be able to take all too much from all that other experience into tonight's event. But the qualifying session has concluded here, and we're going to shift over into race mode. Getting word that possibly the number 99 of Clarence Bonner has bounced out from the server. That might put the 41st qualified driver, Todd Kirkwood, in the field. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that happens. We will have 40 cars on the grid here to start the race, I do believe. So we'll see how that all sorts out. But why don't we start going through tonight's starting lineup for round 6 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown here in the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And starting on the pole, you see that man right there, Greg Evans in the duct tape. 2 machine, very, very fast. 6 wins so far to his name. Could have gotten the win last week at Chicagoland Speedway if things had gone his way. To his outside, Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine. Got a little bit extra chrome, color chrome on that 11 machine this week. Very cool to see. He's been fast over the last few weeks. Last week's race winner from Chicagoland, Mitch Brown, will start on the inside of row number 2, and to his outside is 57 of Craig Stykes. Row number 3, we got the number 28 P&N Water Filters machine on the inside, and Michael Krobach in the HPPsimulation.com machine to his outside. Row number 4, inside, starting in the 7th position, Brian Yazik, just talking about all of his IndyCar experience recently, and to his outside, Grant Brown in a Chevy, made that manufacturer's switch recently, and he'll be starting well inside the top 10. Starting on the inside of row number 5 in the 9th position, the number 33 of Tony Schoen, another driver who has a lot of IndyCar experience, especially around this racetrack, and to his outside, the number 23 of Jackson Van Valkenburg. There, Greg.
Number 7, John Jenkins is going to roll off in the 11th spot. So strong all year long. We'll see how he does here in his Toyota at Indianapolis. To his outside, Jordan Harnish in the new look in the 32 Ford Mustang. Christopher, number 13, rolls off 13th in the Chevy Camaro. To his outside, Woody Mahan in the 84, who has had a couple good runs in the series as of late. He looks for a bounce back tonight. AJ Digby, the 14, was so excited about being able to race here. 15th starting position. To his outside, Will Worsler in the number 29, who led early on Thursday in the Throwback Series before internet issues dropped him out. Alan Young in the number 24 and Cody Spiker make up row number 9. Rounding out your top 20 are Jimmy McKee, 2nd place in Chicago last week, and Tim Knott in the 41 Peter.
Starting in the 21st position, 77 of Alex Giese. To his outside, Sam Crow. Starting in the 12th row, Kelsey Rogers and Christopher Bouchard. What a good recovery for him after being wicked loose around the racetrack. Behind them, row number 13, Doug Mullins on the inside, Brandon Stokes in the 9 on the outside, Clarence Bonner. Don't believe he ever did make it into the race, so Jonathan Holstein will be starting on the outside of row 28, but it's going to bump up everyone on the inside row. Mark Cohn in the number 39 machine will be starting from the 27th position. Sorry, things get a little bit flustered from there on back. Michael Whiting qualified in the 30th position. Lee Staples 31st. Ed Bray 32nd. Pete Baskins 33rd. Jason Stewart 34th. Chris Hughes 35th. Adam Jersey 36th. Mark Myers 37th. Richard Stallings 38th. John Broussard, John Van Varellis rounded out the top 40, but Todd Kirkwood, due to the fact that the number 99 Clarence Bonner will not be starting here tonight, Todd Kirkwood will be the last place starter in tonight's field. But the pace truck here about to head down pit road, and we're going to get green flag action. Christopher Bouchard was given an end of longest line penalty at the start of this race, so he will start tail end of the field. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and the green flag is thrown here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up at the front, Greg Evans and the 11 of Seville not getting a great start. Ooh, look at Jimmy McKee jumping down there on the inside. They're 3 wide a little bit further back. They get things sorted out, but up at the front, the number 2 machine going to jump out to an early lead here, and here comes last week's race winner, the 51 of Mitch Brown.
And he was followed for a split second by Tyler Seville's teammate, Craig Stykes. And Peter, that's the guy I'm watching tonight, is the 57 of Craig Stykes. He was the dominant car in the early stages of Chicago and looked like he had something for the win. Unfortunately, got caught up in an accident with some lap traffic early in the race, which ended his night. So I'm keeping my eye on the 57 tonight. I think Craig Stykes will bounce back.
And I think we got one car. I think that's Jonathan Holstein, who has, Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine and the 73 of Holstein. So it was both of them who had a coming together on the backstretch, and both of those cars, it's game over for both of them. They're already out, no caution. You see the 73 slamming into the inside wall with the number 18. Not quite sure what happened there. We'll have to see if we can get another look at that. But it looked like maybe the 73 just got into the outside wall, got a little bit of wall glue, we call it, Greg. And Doug Mullins ran into the back of him, and both of those cars ended up going through the grass on the inside of the racetrack. Game over for both of them, 39th and 40th here tonight.
And we actually saw something similar happen in the race I was calling last night, the Northwest Racing Series. We saw a lot of drivers get loose off of turn number 2 and go down into the inside wall with no caution, much like we saw tonight. That's because of the way iRacing officiates this race, much like Darlington. We saw the same thing at Darlington in that series a couple weeks ago. With the racing surface being as narrow as it is, the below the apron doesn't count, and it crashes that would normally be a caution at any other track, not a caution here. So we saw that a couple times, and we've already seen it here tonight.
Of course, a lot of these drivers thinking about that bounty, that $70 bounty. The top 7 finishers without any incident points will get $10 added to their championship tally. So I'm sure that's one thing these drivers got to keep in mind, that if some cars do spin, they won't bring out a yellow unless they're on the racing surface. Speaking of a car going around, I think we have one car. Chris Hughes went all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack in the number 22 machine. Possibly a little bit of contact between some of the cars near the back of the pack. Lee Staples in the 66 of Ed Bray. Bray's number 66 machine very heavily damaged coming out of turn number 2. And Bray is going to bring it down onto the access road. It looks like the number 66 Boswell Country Roads Chevy will be coasting to pit road here. No caution just yet, as you see the number 2 machine continue to lead up in the front. That's Greg Evans and Mitch Brown in second. Michael Krobach, look at him. He's up into the 3rd position, getting around Tyler Seville. So Krobach, he was in 4th, got around Seville for that 3rd position. So Seville's gone from 2nd back to 4th here in just a couple of laps. Trying to see maybe if he's saving his tires or something. As you see, a little bit of a connection issues there out of the number 52 machine. That's Grant Brown. He's been having connection issues as of late. They've seemed to be rectified. I think he's possibly might pull down to the inside of the racetrack here and let a couple people by, maybe see if he can sort some of those connection issues out. We'll have to wait and see. There's Ed Bray, finally made it back to pit road, but a lot of damage on that race car. The other car that was involved in that incident was the number 26 machine of Lee Staples. Staples does have a lot of right side damage in that StepTire.com Chevy Camaro. He's dropped back now down to the 34th position. You can kind of see the back end of that. Maybe we can get a little bit earlier. Maybe not, unfortunately. But to tell you what, it looks like Ed Bray's night is done. But we do have a new race leader up at the front. Mitch Brown, last week's race winner, has taken the number 51 Patriot Media and Marketing Services machine to the front.
But he is under pressure from Greg Evans right now, Peter. Evans taking a peek to the high side, taking one more look at that on the replay to see what happened back here with Ed Bray. As the battle's going on for the lead, Brown settling it down, and there you see right there the contact. And already 2 incidents early in the race. We're still green, so that bounty is still in the hunt right now, but definitely not the way we wanted it to start. Checking back in live, Mitch Brown fended off that challenge from Greg Evans. And Mitch Brown, last week's winner in Chicago, 2 points paying wins on the air, plus the All-Star Showdown win at Charlotte over NASCAR drivers Austin Hill and Christian Eckes. So Mitch Brown definitely knows how to get it done here. Wow, what a big slide out of Troy Haight there in the 28. Great save by that number 28. But up front, Brown, Evans, Krobach, Seville, Stykes, and Grant Brown. And Peter, this is kind of reflecting what we saw last night, because it was a 5-car breakaway at the end, kind of like what we're seeing now, the 6-car breakaway, now 7, as another car tucks onto the end. That's Jackson Van Valkenburg. But it was a breakaway near the end, single file freight train, kind of like what we got right now. And it came down to that for the wire. So this is shaping up a lot like the race I saw last night.
Here comes Greg Evans, the 51. Mitch Brown throwing a block down on the back straightaway. And I don't know if Greg Evans was too happy about that block here, as we're only just now working lap number 7. We will be working lap number 8 this time. Next lap will be at the 10% race distance, but very, very early on. And Mitch Brown already bringing out the blocks here. You see him once again, the number 51 going to dive down to the inside. Greg Evans now to his outside. We're side by side across the yard of bricks. And going off into turn number 1, Greg Evans going to have to roll out of it early, back up his corner, late apex the corner to see if he can get that drive up off the corner, unable to do so. and the 51 machine going to scoot away just a little bit here into turn number 2. Now, the question is, did Mitch Brown get too far out front here, Greg? These straightaways are very, very long. Mitch Brown might have been flirting with the outside wall there just a little bit. And here comes the pack catching back up in the slipstream as we have a single file train all the way back to Brian Yazik and Grant Brown doing battle for the 7th position. Yazik's going to take that spot, and here comes Tyler Seville back underneath Michael Krobach. Battle for the 3rd position here going through turn number 4.
Seville to the inside of Krobach has his teammate Craig Stykes behind him. Jackson Van Volkenburg, good run for him so far into 23. He's going to come up behind Krobach. 2 Fords versus 2 Chevys. Drag race down here towards turn number 1. Seville had it at the line just barely. It was a tie on the monitor to at least the 3rd digit on the score sheet, so we have to go to the 4th digit where Seville got it. But man, oh man, that was close. But still side by side here. Krobach with a good run on exit. Now, Peter, I was getting ready to ask this question. And it seems like my question may have been answered as Greg Evans has gotten around Mitch Brown for the race lead. Up front as Krobach is able to clear Seville, bring Van Volkenburg with and Greg Evans back to the lead. And what I was getting ready to ask, I wasn't so worried so much about the gap that Mitch Brown had. I'm more concerned about is he using up the tires so much? Tire management so crucial here at Indianapolis. We take a look at the pass for the lead on the replay.
No, this is actually Pete Baskins in the number 27 machine. Got into the outside retaining wall and heavy into the inside tires. Pete Baskins' night is done, which is such a shame for the winner at Sonoma just a couple weeks ago. Pete Baskins' night will end here at Indianapolis very early. Will be scored well down the order, and there goes Grant Brown to the inside wall, the number 52 from Volkenburg with him. Still no caution here, but Jimmy McKee and the number 8 machine going around as well. Caution flag is out.
And that started up in front. Mitch Brown caught the wall, and I think that bottlenecked the field up in behind him. Van Volkenburg getting loose there, and the wreck was already underway as there you see Grant Brown going down. Boy, oh boy, interesting chain of events there. But I saw Mitch Brown hit the wall in front of that, so I'm wondering if guys were trying to check up to dodge that. Taking a look here at the 23 of Van Volkenburg. He caught the wall as well.
Yeah, that happened so quickly. Van Volkenburg hit the wall. In fact, it was almost 2 separate incidents because Grant Brown in the 52 machine was back behind him. Grant Brown did the same thing, hit the wall. Here we go, on board with Grant Brown. Watch him hit the wall right there. And right behind him was the number 57 of Craig Stykes. And that's what turned Grant Brown into the wall. And then Jimmy McKee got into the left rear quarter panel of the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers in what was almost a separate incident in itself. That is a lot to digest in turn number 2. Let's see if we can go on board with the number 57 of Craig Stykes here and dial up that replay here on 3Y TV to see it from his perspective. But a lot of cars going around, caution flag flying for the first time here. Now here we go, on board with Craig Stykes in the number 57. So watch the number 52, Grant Brown right in front of him. The 52 just starts to wash up the racetrack a little bit, hits the wall, nowhere for Craig Stykes to go. And then there's the 34 and the 8 having a come together. It looked like maybe even Kelsey Rogers did the same thing and hit the outside wall. So boy, oh boy, 3 different incidents all happening in the same corner, and the first caution flag flies here today, and that means the caution-free race bounty will live another day. And we got some different strategies here on pit road, Greg, and I'm really curious about this one because remember, we were talking about a while ago that you have about a 35 to 37 lap 35 to 37 lap window on fuel. So this is presumably going to put all these drivers in the window for that race. And sorry, I misspoke a little bit earlier. I said Pete Baskins was the winner back at Sonoma. He was not. But it was definitely very interesting to see that a lot of your leaders stayed out.
I'm not surprised to see some guys staying out because remember the tire limits here, Peter. In the ASRS, you got to save those tires, and with the track as abrasive as this, you're going to want to and be tempted to take 4 tires every chance you get. Unfortunately, you only have 2 chances to do it, so not surprised that some leaders stayed out here, but boy, Jordan Harnish in the 32, he is still in his pit stall after pitting from the 5th position, so he's getting some damage repaired. Either that or he got some a speeding penalty of some sort, but we had quite a few drivers stay out, so definitely a mixed bag. And now we're off to the races here because this is going to be many different strategies on deck here.
Yeah, so I'm just very curious to see that. I mean, Will Worsler, he looks like he's going to restart around the 20th position now that the field has kind of shuffled through. Presumably, he can now make it from here on only one stop. But remember, here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, they do have a limited number of tire sets, Greg. So these drivers have the set of tires that they start on, and then they have 2 fresh sets of Goodyear tires sitting on pit road. So, looking at the times of the cars that were on pit road, Will Worsler, Chris Hughes, doesn't look like they elected to use one of their sets. Then behind them, drivers like Woody Mahan, Troy Haight, Jason Stewart, and company, looks like they did use one of their sets of tires. So, even different strategies amongst the drivers who did come down pit road. The good news for drivers like Will Worsler and Chris Hughes, they can now make it from here on only one more stop of fuel. If we do go caution free from here on out, knock on wood, cross fingers, cross your toes, do whatever you need to for that to happen. Unfortunately, the bounty will live on because we do have the first caution here tonight. But luckily, Greg, the caution lights are off on the pace truck up there, and we're going to go back green here in just a second.
Yeah, getting set for restart number 2 here of the ASRS Brickyard 200, and it's been fun so far watching Greg Evans and Mitch Brown duel for the lead, but I'm keeping my eye on those 2 HPP Fords right there, 3rd and 4th, Michael Krobach and Brian Yazik, 2 guys who are riding some momentum right now. Yazik running a lot of IndyCar races, and Krobach a win in the B cars a couple nights ago, and he is on a tear in that series that he's running, 2nd in points right now in that series. So Krobach with some momentum and a very good qualifying effort, and so far a run to match. So I'm keeping my eye on those 2 HPP Fords in 3rd and 4th right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen both Yazik and Krobach with pace this year in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, but none of them have been able to get the job quite done. But they are sitting 5th and 6th in points, so here running 3rd and 4th, showing some muscle here in the early going. It does look like the number 2 machine of Greg Evans, though, was just starting to stretch out the lead just a little bit. It's also going to be interesting to see here, Greg, how much does that right side damage affect the number 51 machine of Mitch Brown? We saw him run with some damage last week and still win the race. Can he do so again this week as the green flag is going to drop? And we have restarted here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, working lap number 14 of 80 here tonight. And it does look like the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, going to jump out to an early lead. Oh, look at Yazik trying to squeak in underneath the number 51 machine. Krobach's going to follow through up into the 2nd spot. Yazik going to follow his teammate through. He's up into 3rd. Brown starting to fall back. Now he's under fire from the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Seville down to the inside of the number 51 machine, halfway down the backstretch. And look at John Jenkins in the number 7 machine, getting underneath the number 33 of Tony Schoen. Seville gonna try all he can do to get underneath Mitch Brown here, make the pass. Looks like he's gonna make it stick here. Look at the gaggle of cars right behind Mitch Brown. They're all trying to line up to pass Brown. He's gonna drop down to the inside line, but right behind him, the number 7 of John Jenkins right underneath Chris Stouffer in the number 13 machine. Good job by Chris Stouffer. We've seen some good runs out of him. We were expecting to see a great run out of Chris Stouffer last week at Chicagoland, as we have the number 55 machine, Brian Yazik, past Michael Krobach going off into turn number 1. So new P2, the number 55 of Brian Yazik.
I think that's question asked, question answered on the part of Mitch Brown in the 51, struggling with that damage in the early going, struggling to get going. Now that he's fallen into a draft, it's not as bad. Wow, Tyler Seville and Michael Krobach chasing each other down towards the apron there on the backstretch. That was insane to watch, and Seville's going to clear Krobach for position. Now Jenkins able to get to the inside of Mitch Brown, but Yazik now trying to set up a run at Greg Evans, and he's going to have some help from Tyler Seville. And Peter, right now, if you're Yazik and Seville, you kind of want to work together to try to get into the draft of the 2 and pull him back into you. He's pretty far ahead right now but he's far enough ahead that you can get a run at him, and then if you can catch the slipstream up him, that's going to pull you right up onto him. So Yazik and Seville, I think they're going to work together here to try to catch up to the two before they start making their moves.
And let's keep an eye on the number 29 machine of Will Warser. He's a little bit further back. Remember, he was the first car off pit road. He is good to go from one more pit stop from here. Racing a little bit further back. Oh, contact between the number 9 and the number 33 machine. Brandon Stokes, huge wiggle coming out of turn number 2. He's going to get swallowed up by a couple of cars. I think it was Tony Schoen who might have given him a little bit of nudge. 3 wide here going off into turn number 3. The number 17 is Stallings on the high side. Adam Jersky in the middle. Looks like AJ Digby in the middle. Digby looks like he's got a little bit of damage on that number 14 machine. Well, let's see if we can go back and see what happened to the number 9 machine, because that was a huge wiggle right there. Tony Schoen got into his left rear. Look at Cody Spiker splitting them up the middle in that snap on number 19 machine. Huge run coming there out of the corner, and here's a couple of cars going off into turn number 1 side by side. Action really heating up here in the early run here. I'm pretty amazed that we haven't had the second caution as Richard Stallings of the 17 machine gets close to the outside wall coming out of turn number 2. I think, Greg, we've seen it so far in this race. Turn number 2 is calamity corner so far.
And I saw that last night in the race I was calling here. Turn 2 was definitely the problem child. And right now, I'm caught to the 72, Michael Krobach. He's going the wrong way in this one. Was up as high as second for a split second. He has fallen back to 7th now and is settled down right now, trying to pull back up on Chris Stouffer and Mitch Brown. But Michael Krobach struggling right now in that number 72, falling back 5 positions since the restart. So something definitely going sour on the 72 car. Perhaps may have gotten shuffled out with no draft, as he's now beginning to close back in on the 51 of Mitch Brown, trying to get up into the 6th position. Mitch Brown, another one, who's really struggling with that right side damage. So definitely an up and down race so far for Krobach, Brown, and others. Yazik and Seville up front, they are slowly, just ever so slightly chipping away at the lead of Greg Evans, but it's still got work to do. And Seville, it looks like he's not keen to follow Yazik right now, as he was taking a peek to the bottom, perhaps trying to set it up. Meanwhile, John Jenkins has climbed up to 4th in the number 7.
Yeah, John Jenkins, your series points leader, coming inside the top 5 in 4th. Chris Stouffer rounds out your top 5. But one thing I want to note, Greg, is that I see some right front damage on Michael Krobach's number 72 machine. I think he's suffering from the same thing that Mitch Brown is suffering from, that right front damage causing a little bit of loss of downforce on the nose of that car, lost some side bite, and Krobach now sliding back to the 7th position on board with the number 11 of Tyler Seville. There is Krobach. Barely make out that right front damage there as they head down the back stretch. Excuse me, second time that's happened to me here tonight. Getting my bearings lost here around this 2.5-mile racetrack. But definitely some interesting racing here throughout the field. Got some good racing around the 10th position. John Broussard, Craig Stykes doing battle for the 13th position right now. There they are. Broussard right in front in the Glassville Brewing number 53 machine. Craig Stykes right behind him. We've seen Craig Stykes involved in some action here early on. Let's see how Will Wursler in the number 29 machine. He is not the highest placed driver anymore who came off pit road. It is actually Craig Stykes in the number 57. So Stykes here, though, might have taken 4 fresh tires in that first pit stop, Greg. And if it does go caution-free, that might work out to his advantage, but he has all that damage from that earlier contact, and you can kind of see it down the straightaway. A bit of a parachute on that Slice Porcupines machine right now.
Yeah, Craig Stykes in the 57 trying to recover. And remember, he was so strong in Chicago last week and led a big majority of the early going out. 3 wide inside sound for Craig Stykes, trying to go from 12th to 10th in one shot. Makes it look easy getting around Broussard and Cody Spiker, who goes to battle once again. Adam Jersky behind there as well. But remember, Craig Stykes, talking about him a little bit in the pre-race, was so strong in Chicago last week. He led a good chunk of the early stages. Looked like he was settling in for a run for the win. Unfortunately, got caught up in the accident with lap traffic. So he was looking for a recovery here tonight and got damage again early. But he's not letting it get to him, not letting him phase him. as he's trying to reel in Brandon Stokes now for ninth after making a bold 3-wide move there. Good move by Craig Stykes in the number 57 and showing that he's definitely here to play tonight.
Absolutely. Look at this battle a little bit further back. Woody Mahan and Cody Spiker doing battle for position, as well as Will Warser, who's got himself up into the 14th position. Meanwhile, Craig Stykes continuing his move towards the front. He's doing battle with Brandon Stokes in the number 9 machine, who had the 9th position, but Stykes wants it here halfway down the front stretch. Michael Krobach in the number 72 machine. He's battling with Tony Schoen in the number 33. They're going to go side by side. And it looks like Tony Schoen's just going to use the outside to take the 7th position. Stykes and Stokes getting really close to one another. That's kind of a tongue twister there, Stykes and Stokes. But ooh, Krobach in the 72, they had to check up for Krobach just a smidgen. And that's going to put Stykes back behind Stokes for now. But tell you what, Stykes is stoking the fire there with Brandon Stokes right in front of him.
Boo. Craig Stykes going to the inside of Krobach now. He's going to get around him following Brandon Stokes back through the field. I'm impressed with Tony Schoen so far in that number 33. You mentioned it, Peter, in pre-race. He had run quite a few Indy cars here as well, along with Yazik, to get ready for this race. And it's showing on the charts as he's in 8th right now, trying to track down Mitch Brown, the defending series champion Mitch Brown, I might add. So Tony Schoen having a good showing out there, and that one was not intended. I apologize.
I'll tell you what, though, up in the 2nd position, Brian Yazik and Tyler Seville, they've been trading spots. Last time by, Seville got around Yazik, and then Yazik just took that spot right back from Tyler Seville. So no changes in position. Up at the 2nd position is Greg Evans having a little bit of connection issues up at the front. I'm sure he won't be all too excited about that little blink that he had on his screen, but I was starting to see, Greg, that these two were actually running in on Greg Evans just a smidgen, but now that seems to have, with that battle that they had, changing spots, it seemed like they lost a little bit of ground between themselves, but meanwhile, up at the front, Greg Evans, you can see that connection issues from that number 2 machine. We'll see if that continues or worsens. That is the worst feeling in the world, Greg. I mean, we saw it last week where John Jenkins almost missed out on the pole with his connection issues. And luckily he was able to get back into the show in time. In fact, he messaged me and said, I breaker flipped and whoa, what's happening here? Stokes going all the way down into the grass almost, coming out of turn number 2, and they're still racing hard going off into turn number 3. Let's see if we can see what happened here. But I do believe the 53 of John Broussard was a little bit further back. Looks like Stokes just washed up. It might have gotten to the back of the number 33 of Schoen. Had to check up, and Broussard nowhere to go but into the back of the number 9 machine. And then look at the number 29 of Will Warser with that huge head of steam. He was able to get himself now up into the 11th position. In fact, he just made a move on Brandon Stokes, and now he's up into 9th, just like that. So Will Warser now inside the top 10. He does have quite a ways to go to catch up to the back of Tony Schoen, but he's definitely running some good lap times. Fastest car on the racetrack right now is Craig Stykes. Remember, he has freshest tires on that number 57 machine from the one and only caution flag we have had here tonight. Just about 15 laps away now from the halfway mark, and I would expect to see your leaders on pit road around lap number 40 here, Greg, because we had that caution, so they were able to save a little bit of fuel. But remember, I don't think they'll be able to make it from that point all the way to the end if we stay caution-free. But for now, for a green flag here in Indianapolis, and Craig Stykes about to make the move on Chris Stouffer for a top 5.
I'm so impressed with what Craig Stykes is doing right now with that damage on the number 57. And he is going to get around Stouffer in the turn number 1. So Craig Stykes back into the top 5. And clearly, he is taking what he had momentum-wise from Chicagoland before the incident and applying it here as he is rocking and rolling through the field with damage. This would be interesting to see if he could make this work to get up to Evans. If he could catch a caution here, that 57 might be in really good shape here before too long.
You know, one thing I'm starting to see out there, Greg, and I'm kind of surprised by this. There's a lot of cars that have made some type of contact either with another car or the outside retaining wall. We see a lot of cars with damaged right fronts and that sort of thing. But what we're starting to see is those drivers with all that damage start to float down the field. We're starting to see drivers who have kept their cars clean definitely start to work their way through the field. I mean, I'm seeing Sam Crow right now in the 5 machine. He's starting to work his way towards the top 10. We've seen Will Worcester. He's been able to get from about the 20th position on the restart up now into the 8th position. Just got around Tony Showen in the number 33, who has a little bit of right front damage. Next car in front of Will Worcester is last week's race winner, the number 51 of Mitch Brown, who almost clobbered the outside wall coming out of turn number 2. That's going to give Worcester a huge run down the backstretch. Move Worcester now into the 7th position. Long way for him to catch up to Chris Stouffer, but up at the front, looks like the race leader, Greg Evans, he's kept that number 2 duct tape machine nice and clean. He's got himself now up to about a 2-second advantage over Yazik's number 55, and even Yazik might have just clipped the outside wall coming out of turn number 3. So I think it's going to be one of those things here tonight, Greg, where to finish high up the field, you got to keep your car clean. You got to run your laps, stay away from the wall. Don't overstep your boundaries, because if you do so, it will be a compounding mistake. You know, it's one thing to be 5/100ths of a second faster on a lap and miss the wall than it is to be 5/100ths of a second faster hitting the wall, because once you've hit the wall, you're just going to be losing time throughout the remainder of the race. If you do it at the end of the race, not that big of a deal. If you do it here early on in the first half of the race, it could be a very long night. Side-by-side action a little bit further back between the 72 of Michael Krobach getting underneath the number 9 of Brandon Stokes. That will move Krobach up into 12th. It will open the door for Sam Crow, but the door was shut pretty quickly by Brandon Stokes. Here comes Crow getting a run out of the corner. The 9 having a wiggle. You saw some sparks fly from the right side of that number 9 machine, and he's going to lose a couple more positions to Mark Cohn in the number 39 machine. He's going to get himself now up into the 14th position. He's one of those drivers who's kept his race car clean. We do have the 77 of Alex Giese on pit road right now. Oh, contact between Mark Cohn and the number 9 of Stokes, and Stokes is in the outside wall, and he is gone. I think he alt-F4'd from that one. And that will not bring out the caution, but there was just a smidgen of contact here between these two cars. Not sure if the number 9 got the outside wall. He might have just caught the wall, bounced down into Mark Cohn, but no caution for that one. He has left the server, and I gotta say, you see that right there. And there's the Alt F4, boom, gone, just like that. That's one of the nice things you can do in sim racing that you can't do in the real world. Just kind of jump out of the race car while it's spinning like that. But Greg, that keeps us clean and green for now, and that's also going to bring Troy Haight up into the top 15. And Haight in the number 28 machine just made the pass on Mark Cohn. Not quite sure about the damage on Mark Cohn's number 39 machine. I'm sure he's going to have to feel that one out. There he is in 15th position, right in front of Adam Jersey. Beef Jersey's cheesecakes on the hood of the number 69. What cheesecake is he making here tonight? Right in front of Lee Staples. Got the step tire on that number 26 machine. Involved in an earlier incident was Lee Staples, but he's had a good recovery so far. And what about Christopher Bouchard, Greg? Bouchard had to start shotgun on the field, and right now he's running down in the 34th position. Currently one lap down in that number 50 machine.
Bouchard having a tough day, but Peter, I'm watching something right now. The 19 of Cody Spiker, he is already pitted, and we just saw how much the difference of tires makes on the racetrack as Mitch Brown comes down pit road. He had received a black flag a couple of laps ago, did the 51 of Mitch Brown, but Cody Spiker in the number 19, he's a lap down right now because he already pitted. He sliced through this battle for second between Yazik, Jenkins, Stikes, and Seville like a hot knife through butter, and he is coming up on Greg Evans right now. You can see the difference fresh tires makes as opposed to old tires here at Indianapolis, as he is going to just drive right past him and make it through, or make it back and get his lap back. So Cody Spiker in the number 19 showing what the difference is right now, fresh tires versus old tires here at Indianapolis. Mitch Brown on pit road in the number 51 serving a penalty, I believe, but boy, oh boy, when these guys come in, we're going to see a lot of speed out of this number 2, or these guys when they get those fresh tires on, as we see with the 19 right now.
Yeah, Mitch Brown having a connection penalty. He was pretty much blinked out for an entire lap in that number 51 machine. That will bring out the black flag. And I will say he's going back out there on the racetrack. Looks like his connection issues have subsided. So that is good news, but he will be put multiple laps down. John Jenkins has just got around the second place machine, Tyler Seville. Craig Sykes following him through. So Sykes continues his run towards the front on the fresher tires on that number 57 machine. Remember, Sykes can go to the end on only one more stop. So that is also in the good for Craig Sykes. If this race goes caution-free, Sykes might be in the catbird seat, folks, because remember, I don't believe drivers like Greg Evans can make it to the end on only one more stop from here. It will be very, very tight. John Jenkins in the number 7 machine will be in that same boat, but right now, the race lead for Greg Evans is 3 seconds. But it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out. Brian Yazik at the number 55, he's got himself into the top 5. Let's see what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay, looking at the 55 and the 77 machine. And looks like Geesey clipped the wall there, definitely getting a good piece of that outside wall coming out of turn number 2. Once again, turn number 2 is treacherous here tonight.
Turn 2 has definitely been the problem child here for this race, because we are closing in, Peter, on halfway. Only one caution so far, but we have had our fair share of accidents, and it seems like just about every single one of them, like you mentioned, has been off of turn number 2. So definitely been a little bit different than what we expected. And you see battles going on all around the field. Here you see Troy Haight, the 28, to the inside of John Broussard in the 53. That's the battle for 11th right now, trying to reel in Sam Crow in the 5 car to break into the top 10. Sam Crow, a pretty quiet night so far, Peter, but running very solid in the top 10 right now after starting 22nd. He's up 12 spots in that 5 car.
Yeah, good run for Sam Crow. You know, he's one of those drivers who hasn't quite had a lot of luck this season, hasn't had all too many good finishes, but definitely showing here tonight that he has pace around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm watching the lap times as well amongst the whole field, and Will Worsler and Greg Evans both running very similar lap times right now. In fact, Worsler actually just a smidgen faster than Greg Evans over the last few laps. Worsler, though, is about 7.5 seconds behind the race lead, however. But do remember, Will Worsler came down pit road under that one and only caution we had, so he is presumably good to go to the end on only one more stop as well. So that is going to be interesting to see. Oh, Craig Sykes in number 57 getting a little bit of help here from Tyler Seville down the backstretch. Let's see what happened here with the number 57 of Sykes, and Sykes just kissing the outside wall coming out of turn number 2. That's what allowed the 11 of Seville to give the 57 a little bit of a bump draft down the backstretch to keep them going. But definitely Craig Sykes adding a little bit more damage to the right side of that number 57 Slice Porcupines machine right in front of his teammate Tyler Seville. I'm sure Tyler might need a new pair of underwear after seeing that happen. Yazik's caught these 2 cars in front of him as well in the 55. Remember, Alex Geesey has already come down pit road in the number 77 machine. He's kind of watching those cars in front of him. But the 77 of Geesey, who again here tonight, Greg, has so much pace in qualifying, but always seems to be the target of other people's accidents and that sort of thing. But Geesey definitely struggling here tonight, currently being scored in 31st. He is the first car 1 lap down, however, so if a caution was to come out, he would be a lucky duck.
Alex Geesey, so much bad luck over the years in the 77, or over the year, I should say. And he's got, like you mentioned, he's a very fast qualifier. He did get a pole back a few weeks ago. I believe it may have been Kansas or Michigan that he got the pole in the 77. Just hasn't gone his way in the race. As you're on board with one of the Will Worsler cars, I believe this is Tyler Seville in the 11 that we're on board with, who is currently running in the 4th position, trying to track down Craig Sykes, his teammate, for a second. And I'm just so impressed with what Craig Sykes has been able to do with the damage on that 57 car. To climb back up to 3rd at Indianapolis, a very aero-sensitive track with damage, that number 57 is on a mission tonight.
Definitely using those fresher tires on that car. Looking over the last 5 laps, though, John Jenkins has been about 5/100ths of a second faster than Greg Evans. Craig Sykes is around the 6th fastest car on average lap time in the number 57 machine, so he's still showing that he has some pace over the last few laps, but no longer faster than your race leader Greg Evans or the second place number 7 of John Jenkins as those gaps continue to increase. Here's Mark Cohn in the 72 machine doing battle a little bit further back. This is a battle actually for the 13th position, actually 12th position, excuse me. Cohn just took that away from Krobach, so that number 39 machine now marching his way towards the top 10. Currently the 10th position is held by Troy Haight in the P&N Water Filters Chevrolet. Great job by Troy Haight to work his way up through the field here tonight. He did qualify in the 5th position, so Haight has definitely had pace here tonight and starting to make some moves up towards the front. Haight, though, was, like Will Worser, one of those drivers who came down on lap number 11 to get fuel in that race car. Of course, we're now only 3 laps away from the halfway mark, and Greg, this is when we're gonna find out how many of these drivers might be starting to save some fuel. I'd say if these drivers can make it to lap number 42 without coming down pit road, they have a good shot of making it the rest of the way. But if they can't make it to lap 42, which is only 4 laps from now, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to save enough fuel, in my opinion, to make it to the end of the race.
They're going to need a caution just to get that extra insurance that they can make it, because that's just cutting it so close here on fuel. As we estimate about a 38 lap fuel run if it stays green, Peter. That's about as far as we thought it could go, and that would be 38 laps if they came in on lap 42, so that's just cutting it so close that you're going to want to make it to lap 44, maybe even, not even 43, maybe lap 44, to try to be able to convince yourself and lock yourself in that you can make it the rest of the way. But this battle going on here between John Broussard in the 53 and Lee Staples in the 26, that's some good racing for the 14th position right now. Lee Staples and John Broussard both started in the sub 30 position. Lee Staples started 31st. He's up to now 14th. John Broussard started 39th. He's up to 15th. So good run so far for both these guys as they're trying to make their way through. A couple of guys making big moves, and I think those two are in the conversation for biggest mover. Right behind them, Jason Stewart also started sub 30. He started 34th. He's up to 16th now. So quite a few big movers in this one, Peter. So definitely a race of comers and goers thus far.
Yeah, and like I mentioned a little bit ago, the drivers who have kept their race car clean and outside of the wall, or off the outside wall, are the ones that are really starting to make some moves up, as we see your race leader, the number 2 machine of Evans, coming down pit road. And we got another car as well coming down. That's the number 84 of Woody Mahan. So, Greg, we're starting to see the dominoes fall here up at the front. They made it 39 laps. Actually 40 laps here, but they did get that one caution to help them save a few laps. I think drivers like John Jenkins here, if he can make it 2 more laps, he might be able to save enough to get to the end. But drivers like the number 29 of Will Worser, the number 57 of Craig Sykes, who did come down under that one caution around lap number 11, if it goes caution free, I think they're going to be in the catbird seat. They will not have to save anywhere near as much fuel as some of these other drivers. As the number 7 of Jenkins, he's going to head down pit road here in the super clean, tough cleaner machine. And that will give the race lead to that man right there, the 57 of Stikes. He can go now, Greg, about 8 to 9 more laps until he has to come down pit road, you would think. So he will definitely be good on fuel. We got others coming down pit road. Mark Cohn, we saw Sam Crow as well. There's the 72 of Krobach. These are all drivers who elected to stay out under our one and only caution that we've had so far in this race. You see, Mark Cohn sliding into his pit stall nicely. Sam Crow, he overshot his pit stall just a little bit. And there you see the number 7 machine, John Jenkins, down and away. But definitely, the dominoes are starting to fall here, Greg, that if this race goes caution-free, we could see potentially a very different finishing order than what we've seen in the first half of this race.
And if this comes down to caution free, and it comes down to fuel mileage. One of the guys that I'm going to keep my eye on is on pit road right now. There you see him in front leading that 3-car charge. Tyler Seville, winner at Michigan on fuel mileage. He's one guy I'm keeping my eye on. The other, Greg Evans in the 2, because he lost that race on fuel mileage. So those are the 2 that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on, Seville and Evans, because Seville won the race on fuel mileage a couple weeks ago at Michigan. Evans lost the race on fuel mileage. What lessons did Evans learn in that number 2 to save fuel here at Indianapolis if this goes green? And can Tyler Seville match what he did? Caution
Well,
is out.
yeah, let's throw everything out the window because we have had a caution here, and the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers turned around coming out of turn number 2. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened here, but I do believe there was contact. There you see him spinning into the inside wall. But this happened right there with Christopher Bouchard and Kelsey Rogers having it coming together. And I'm not 100% sure. I think Kelsey Rogers might have been on fresh tires in that number 34 machine. He was, and he caught the 50 of Bouchard, who was on older tires, and watched this coming together right there. And the 34 having heavy impact with the inside wall, bringing out the second caution here tonight. And just like that, everything is going to be thrown out the window because drivers who stayed out, well, they'll have to come down pit road. This is a very big racetrack, so you can come down pit road and not lose a lap. So now we'll have to figure out who's on the lead lap, who isn't on the lead lap, who's already pitted, who hasn't already pitted, and we'll just have to figure out how this is all going to sort out. It is going to help drivers like Greg Evans make it to the end, but remember, Greg, he did have already a green flag run with a caution. He only made it 38, 39 laps, not quite to halfway. Does Greg Evans come down and pit again here so he ensures the fact that he can make it to the rest of the distance or not?
It might not be a bad idea for Greg Evans to just top off on fuel. We'll see if he decides to do that. Craig Stykes coming down. Rest of the field that had not pitted come down. Jason Stewart in the number 1 was being scored in the 2nd spot. He is all the way back behind Jimmy McKee there before the rest of the field. Actually in front of Jimmy McKee behind Chris Bouchard. I saw 2 dark blue cars with white racing stripes that look pretty similar, so apologize for that little slip up there. But you see the field coming down pit road. Does not look like Greg Evans in the 2 is coming down the top off, so he feels that he will be able to make it the rest of the way if we go green from here on once we get the restart. So definitely mixed bag of strategies here on pit road, and I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, this is definitely going to help out drivers like, Will Worcester, who might have been just on the edge of that window as well. Because remember, green-white checkers could be a thing as well, although tires will probably be more important at that point in the race. I don't know. This is going to be very interesting to see how this all pans out. Will the number 2 have enough fuel to make it the rest of the way? Will the number 7 of John Jenkins have enough fuel to make it all the way? Remember, Jenkins made it 1 more lap than Greg Evans in that number 7 machine. I think it's going to be interesting when we get to the end. If this stays caution-free, Greg, who's going to make it? Who will not make it? And remember, some of the drivers who came down pit road under the first caution, they took tires like Craig Stykes. So Stykes will presumably put on his 2nd set of Goodyear tires here, and that's it. He's out of tires. He cannot change tires anymore here tonight on that number 57 machine. So he really now has to rely on this race going caution-free from here. Otherwise, he could have put himself in a pretty bad bed because all the other drivers would presumably be able to come down pit road, take 4 fresh tires, and be significantly faster than him.
We'll see how it unfolds. And the fact that we made it so far without a caution does make me feel pretty good about us being able to get there to the end. So we'll see how it goes. It all depends on how those first couple of laps go after the restart, Peter. The race I called last night was a caution breed, caution race, but if we made it a couple of laps, we were pretty solid. So we'll see how it goes here.
Christopher Bouchard will be receiving an end of longest line penalty for his that incident happened a little bit ago, and just his involvement in that incident. It does look like the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers has taken his car to the garage and will go no further here tonight. That is definitely not what he was hoping for in that 34. We've seen a lot of speed out of Kelsey Rogers as of late here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And of course, tonight is the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown race number 6. Why don't we see if we can quickly dial up a quick commercial from our friends over at SERVPRO, and we'll get you right back here for the restart.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one. 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
All right, well, welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where it looks like the admins have extended the caution for another lap, so that will give us a little bit more time to talk about this upcoming restart. But Greg Evans, he's on slightly older tires now than some of the cars behind him. It didn't look like it mattered all too much, because under that last run, he was even able to be faster than Craig Stykes at the end of that run, who was on 10-lap fresher tires. But now it looks like the first car coming off pit road, Craig Stykes, is going to be in the 7th position, ironically, which is where he qualified for this race. Actually, no, excuse me, he qualified in the 4th position. But Craig Stykes has all that damage now, Greg, and he's on level playing field with all the other cars around him. Remember, he was kind of on an unlevel playing field because he had the fresher tires under that last green flag run. But now that he's on level field when it comes to tires, do you think that damage is going to affect that number 57 machine significantly?
We'll see. I thought it was going to affect him more than what he was having in the first run there, so we'll see how it affects him on even tires, because yes, he was on fresher tires in the rest of the field, but still, with how aero sensitive these cars are, I was surprised he was able to get up there. So we'll see now on even playing field what that 57 car has here for this restart. Meanwhile, Greg Evans has cycled back to the lead in the number 2, and you know he's got to be feeling good now that he caught the caution, that he can make it on fuel the rest of the way. So Greg Evans, John Jenkins up front, top 2 in points all year long. It's been fun watching these two battled out. We were going to see it last week at Chicago. We're shaping up to see it again here at the Brickyard.
Now, one thing that's going to be really interesting about this restart, Greg, is we only have about 7 rows of double file race cars. So many cars had to take the wave around that most of the field is going to be restarting single file on this restart, starting around Chris Hughes on back in the number 22 machine. Meanwhile, John Van Varellis in the 13th position, he's going to be starting alongside with Cody Spikert. So it looks like just 7 rows of side-by-side cars, and the green flag is going to be back in the air here shortly as Evans leads him down really slowly. He gets a huge jump in the number 2 machine, and away we go. Back to green. What about Woody Mahan in the number 84 machine? He was able to use that crazy pit sequence to get himself up into the top 5, and here he goes, going for the 2nd position underneath John Jenkins, and he's got it. Woody Mahan, 84 to 2nd.
We've been talking about Woody Mahan a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. A couple good solid runs for that purple number 84 right now. Up in the 2nd spot right now, getting around John Jenkins. Woody Mahan getting some momentum going once again. He's got a run now on Greg Evans using that draft to try to pull himself up onto the back bumper of the 2 as they go down into turn number 3. First side-by-side battle is for 5th between Seville and I believe Yazik, yes, but looking out the back bumper of Greg Evans towards Woody Mahan, looking out the back window, and Mahan is there. He got a great run off of turn number 2. He's going to get to the bottom, drag race down to the line, and I think Mahan might be able to lead the lap. Yes, he will. Woody Mahan's going to lead the lap.
And here comes the number 7 of John Jenkins getting underneath Greg Evans. He's going to take the 2nd position. So Evans falling back here just a little bit. Remember, on slightly older tires on that duct tape number 2 machine. Christopher now in the 4th position is going to see if he can get around the number 2. Tyler Seville rounds out your top 5. Ryan Yazik. Will Worcester follows him. In fact, Worcester going to dive to the inside of Yazik here halfway down the backstretch. And Worcester is going to send it in underneath Yazik. They're still side by side. 3 wide there back towards the back. That was AJ Digby down on the inside. Cody Spiker in the middle. I think that was the number 22 machine as well involved in that. Chris Hughes. Looks like Hughes is going to come away with one of the spots. Digby trying to get back up onto the lead lap. It hasn't been the night that AJ Digby has been hoping for in the number 14 machine, finding himself the first car 1 lap down as we run. He has quite a bit of damage on that number 14 machine that he got early in the race, but up towards the front, the number 13 and the number 11 doing battle. Seville underneath Stouffer. This is for 4th. And look who's lurking right behind them, the number 29 machine of Will Worcester. And Worcester's going to give Seville a bump down the backstretch, giving a nudge to the car that he owns, trying to push Seville up into the 4th position and see if he can kind of pry open a door for himself in turn number 3.
Of course, they're putting pressure on Seville and Stouffer. Great run for Chris Stouffer, by the way, in at number 13. Started in the 13th position, was scored 4th last time. Currently behind Seville in 5th, but gets a run on the outside. But here comes Worcester back to the inside to try to help out his teammate. But Stouffer's going to win the drag race between them to the finish line this time and get up behind Greg Evans. Meanwhile, John Jenkins is closing in on Woody Mahan, who has led 3 laps now in the number 84. And we're starting to see that choo-choo train effect that we called it last night. We're starting to see that take effect once again here. We saw this early in the last green flag run, seeing it shape up again here.
Yep, it definitely is. I mean, we're single file all the way back through the first 10 cars or so. Here comes Jimmy McKee, though, trying to break what I was saying because he's just dived to the inside of Craig Stykes, trying to get to the 8th position in the number 8 machine, and he will clear Stykes going through turn number 4, right there in the McKee Lawn Care Services machine. Good job for Jimmy McKee. Last week, finished in the 2nd position. It was a great run for him. Just 0.4 of a second off of Mitch Brown for the win last week at Chicagoland. Trying to get 1 spot better here tonight around the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway in round 6 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. But it is 1st and 2nd in points, currently running 2nd and 3rd right behind the number 84 Woody Mahan. Look at this gaggle of cars. Mark Cohn in it, and the 51 of Mitch Brown, last week's race winner. Remember, he had that black flag that he had to serve. That has put him... Oh, we got a wreck behind. Oh, Tim Knott in the number 41 machine. And he was one of those drivers going for the 20th spot in points. Tony Schoen also in that battle for 20th place in points, also involved. Yeah, it looked like possibly a little bit of net code. But the number 41 machine going around, your lucky dog will be AJ Digby in the number 14 machine, who's still in that lucky dog spot. Let's see this from high atop with this angle. And, oh, the 04 machine right there. Mark Myers out of Ohio getting a heavy piece of that with Tony Schoen. It's a tough break for Mark. He was being scored on the lead lap around the 20th position or so. Here we go on board with Tony Schoen. And you saw that happen oh so fast. Nothing really Tony Schoen could do about it. And definitely not what Tony Schoen wanted to have here tonight. He definitely had a good run going here tonight, Greg. That's very disappointing for him.
Yeah, definitely tough break for Schoen. Had a very good run going. Taking one more look at it on board the 41 of tonight. Actually, not sure if that was the 41 or not, but that was definitely a tough break for Schoen. That was definitely a good run he had going. He had put in so much time getting ready for this race by running the Indy cars here, and it's unfortunate to see it go up in smoke like that. But we're back under caution here at the Brickyard for the 3rd time tonight, lap 53 of 80. So closing in now on the 3/4 distance, and Woody Mahan leading the way. And Peter, it's been a long time coming for Woody Mahan to get up and lead some laps. He has had quite a few good runs over the last couple of weeks. What's Greg Evans thinking? He's going to pull a psych there, and it looks like everybody's going to stay out on the track. It's a couple guys deep in the field coming down, but Greg Evans thought maybe about using that extra set of tires that he still has there. A couple of cars deep in the field coming down pit road, though, Peter.
Yeah, pretty much every car from about 20th position on back or so coming in. might be thinking about using that extra set of tires that you just mentioned there, Greg. They know that they don't have the pace to contend with driver like Woody Mahan, John Jenkins, and Greg Evans up in the field as you see the 04 machine back up into his pit stall. But getting off strategy here might pay dividends if we go caution-free from here. Now, Greg Evans, he elected to stay out there on the racetrack with this caution. I don't think there's going to be any question on whether or not he can make it to the end. It might still be a bit tight for a green-white checker, but Greg Evans staying out there on the racetrack, I think he's good to go with this caution, no doubt. But there's Mark Cohn in the number 39 machine. He came down pit road, and looks like he was one of the drivers who elected to use his final set of tires here tonight. Michael Krobach in the number 72, an interesting call in that machine to get himself down pit road. Maybe getting a little bit of damage repaired as well on the number 72 machine. We saw Michael Krobach so fast in the early going here, Greg, but definitely seemed like some right front damage has derailed his night. Definitely not showing as much damage as he did earlier, so I believe that's what his crew was doing, pulling out that right front fender, and hopefully that can give him some of the pace back that he had early in the race with a top 5 qualifying run, and currently being scored around the 20th position or so.
He had such a strong run in the early stages, Peter. Got up as high as second early in this race before falling back after getting the damage, and it's been a fight ever since then. So Michael Krobach trying to recover in the number 72 as he has got most of the damage fixed. Not sure if he has just about all of it, but he's got close to it. So we'll see if he has enough that he's able to slice and dice his way back through the field.
It does look like we have a couple drivers here who might be having some connection issues. Grant Brown has been shown an end of longest line penalty in his machine, so he will have to go to the back of the pack. Meanwhile, Tim Knott and Mark Myers have both been given EOLs for their involvement in that accident, which brought out the caution here tonight. 26 laps to go around the famed 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and luckily, the pace truck lights have turned off. We'll get set to go back to green flag action. Hopefully, we do not have to extend the caution another lap, although we do have a couple of cars hustling their way around the racetrack, trying to catch up to the back of the field. Like Tony Schoen, Mark Myers, and Alex Giese, they all elected to stay on pit road to get as much damage repaired as possible. But at least for now, the pace truck lights have stayed off. Like I mentioned, AJ Digby was the lucky dog. He's currently being scored in the 27th position in his Chevrolet. Not the night he was looking for here at his favorite racetrack. But right now, let's see if we can reset the top 10 for you before we go back to green flag action. Woody Mahan in the 84, your race leader. John Jenkins in second. Greg Evans in third. Christopher in fourth. Tyler Seville, Will Warser 5th and 6th. Brian Yazik 7th. Jimmy McKee 8th. Craig Stykes in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, Troy Haight as Mitch Brown in the number 51 machine. He's also been shown an end of longest line penalty for connection troubles here under this caution. He's still blinking right now at the back of the pack. Don't think he's going to be able to get in line here because we got a couple of stragglers out back. He's probably going to be shown a black flag. They'll have to clear it. But the pace truck has headed down pit road. The green flag going to be in the air here shortly. Woody Mahan gets us back to green flag action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 25 laps to go, only about 75 miles.
Mahan trying to win the drag race with John Jenkins into turn number 1. Has the nose in front. Woody Mahan looking for that breakout performance here into number 84. Could have it as they make their way through turn 2. Greg Evans right on the back bumper of him. We're on board with Chris Stouffer right now, the 4th place car. He's got to run on Greg Evans on the outside.
And this is something we haven't seen all night, Greg. We haven't seen that outside line be strong. We've seen every restart, plus the start of the race, that inside line has had a huge advantage. But right now, we're seeing John Jenkins really try and claw his way to the front with a little bit of help from behind with Chris Stouffer, who's trying to use that momentum to get past Greg Evans in the number 2 machine, as we're going to be side by side here right to the line. It looks like the 7 has an advantage here at the stripe.
Jenkins trying to make the outside work. He will lead the lap first. Believe that's the first lap that John Jenkins has led all day in the number 7 as he's got Chris Stouffer behind him. Chris Stouffer, he is having a very impressive run in that number 13.
contact towards the back of the pack. The number 26 machine of Lee Staples just had a huge moment going off into turn number 1. Got a little bit of a nudge from the number 19 machine of Cody Spiker, and he ended up in the outside retaining wall. We stay green. You see him go all the way down into the grass, and bam, right into the outside wall. That's the second time we've seen Staples hit the outside wall pretty hard. Both times it wasn't really of his own doing, but Lee Staples now going to be scored well back in the pack, and he's going to have to nurse that StepTire.com machine down the front stretch, and hopefully he can stay out of pit road, because I'm trying to see if he's headed down pit road. He's going to stay out on the racetrack right now, but Lee Staples definitely a lot of damage. But up at the front, John Jenkins has taken the race lead using that high line. Chris Stofers followed him up into second. Greg Evans got around Woody Mahan as well, so Mahan slid from first back to fourth. Greg Evans now in the third position, but he has two new players in front of him, the 7 and the 13.
I had my finger on the wrong hotkey there, but yeah, Jenkins leading the way in the number 7 for the first time tonight. Chris Stouffer, so impressed with his run tonight. Been very quietly making his way into the top 10, then the top 5. Now he took a shot at the lead there for a second through turn 3 there, Peter. He took just the ever slightest swipe at John Jenkins to the inside, trying to set him up perhaps for a run off of turn number 4, see if he gets the good exit. Unfortunately, looks like Greg Evans got one as well. Stouffer is going to take the peak. Drag race to the line, give it to Jenkins still, but Stouffer might have the preferred line in the turn number 1. He does. He's going to poke his nose out front. Chris Stouffer leading the way. Can he lead the lap again here at Indianapolis? Chris Stouffer now leads at Indianapolis, trying to get back to the line.
And somehow the number 7 machine of John Jenkins found a window to slice in behind the number 13 machine. That was extremely tight between himself and Greg Evans. Remember, these two drivers, the 7 and the 2, are first and second in points coming into tonight in that order. So Jenkins trying to hold on to that points lead over Evans's, who has 6 wins, but here comes Evans to his inside, and he's going to make it work through turn number 4. Easy peasy for Evans. He's back up into second. He's led the most laps here tonight, and look at the gaggle of cars lining up behind these drivers up at the front. Evans up to second, and here comes the number 55 HPPsimulation.com machine of Brian Yazek underneath Woody Mahan. These positions changing up at the front very, very quickly. They're just kind of cycling through here, Greg. This is fantastic racing here, as we now only have 21 laps to go.
It's shaping up like the finish I saw last night. Drivers shuffling positions near the front and looking very solid right now. Is that number 55 of Brian Yazek getting up around John Jenkins and Woody Mahan, actually, trying to get up there. Tyler Seville peeking to the inside. Remember, Seville had a strong car in the early stages, has been kind of mired in traffic for the second half of the race. He's trying to get inside of Mahan right now. He's going to have help from his car owner, Will Borsler, in the 29. That's the battle going on back here for the 5th position. Once that's all said and done, Tyler Seville, Will Borsler getting right up on the back bumper, trying to get a run at Woody Mahan. How about the guy behind this? Jimmy McKee in the number 8. He has crept his way up into the top 10.
Yeah, definitely been a pretty quiet night for him, but getting his way up there to the front. And look at the number 24 machine right there, Alan Young in the 12th position. They're going to go 3 wide down backstretch, though. Cody Spiker on the inside, the 1 of Jason Stewart on the outside. Remember, Stewart qualified 34th here tonight. And new race leader, the number 2 of Greg Evans, just drove underneath Chris Stouffer down the backstretch, and he's got himself back up to the front here. Let's see what happened on the replay. There you see it. Just drove underneath him. Good run coming out of turn number 2. And Greg Evans back up to the front here. 20 laps to go as they all fan out here down the front stretch. That battle for the 5th position will not go away. Seville beat Woody Mahan to the line that time. Seville still trying to get underneath that 84 machine. Gets the drive out of turn number 1, though, and I think he's finally cleared him. Trying to bring Will Worser in the number 29 machine through to the 6th position if he can. There you go. Still side by side now between the 29 and the 84, however. And definitely Seville trying to help out his team owner there down the backstretch, giving him as much draft as possible. And here comes Troy Haight in the 28 machine trying to move up towards the front. Now, I know we've highlighted Troy Haight a couple times here tonight, but he's kept the right front fender on that number 28 machine qualified up in the top 10. And again, he's making his way towards the top 10 position, making his way towards the top 5 position even, as he kind of fell back in the first half of the race. Definitely starting to make some noise in that machine. And look at Craig Stykes there giving a bumper to the number 19 machine of Cody Spiker right in front of him. This is some great action here at Indianapolis.
That was an awesome camera shot, too, from the cockpit of Jimmy McKee. That was one of the coolest camera shots we've ever seen. You're seeing just how close these drivers are competing with each other at the 2.5-mile speedway here at Indianapolis, as Troy Haight has been able to get around Woody Mahan. Here comes Cody Spiker now to the inside of Woody Mahan. We've mentioned Spiker's name a couple times. Remember, he was the one that I pointed out was on the fresher tires earlier and was slicing and dicing through the field. He has worked his way back into the top 10 now, once it's all said and done. That pass on Mahan is for the 8th position, going after Troy Haight for the 7th position. We talked about, Peter, that Troy Haight had kept the car clean, but Cody Spiker has done a great job in the number 19. There you see a good shot, though, coming down the front stretch. You see what Greg Evans is doing. He's trying to break the draft of the guys behind him and trying to pull away from John Jenkins and Chris Stouffer. Jenkins has gotten around Chris Stouffer for the 2nd spot, but I've seen that a couple of times the last couple of laps out of Greg Evans on the long straightaways, trying to break the draft, shoot inside, shoot outside, break the draft of the guys behind him to try to pull away from it. We'll see if he does it again here. Yes, he does. Going down to the bottom, trying to break the draft. Not as much this time, but does do it again off of corner number 2. So Greg Evans starting to go on defense right now to break the draft, but John Jenkins got a good run off turn 2 that time, Peter.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this all plays out. Remember, I think Greg Evans will be good on fuel from here, but if he's not, he is going to be very, very close. But he'll be watching his fuel numbers very, very closely, especially now that he's out front, Greg, because when you're out front here at Indianapolis, you're using so much fuel, you don't have any car to draft off of and save even a drop of fuel. But I think that last caution probably put him to the good when we saw him think about headed down pit road, kind of faked everyone out. And remember, some of these drivers still have a fresh set of Goodyear tires still sitting on pit road. What about those drivers, though, Greg, who came down pit road under this last caution? I'm watching Cody Spiker right now in the number 19 machine. He's up to the 7th position. We've highlighted that fact. He pitted 11 laps ago to be 12 laps this time by. So he has about 12 lap fresher tires than the cars around him. And you see what he's been able to do with those fresh tires, get himself up into the top 10 and closing in on the number 11 machine in 6th. And Will Warser, who was able to get around his teammate. And look at this battle right in front of them. Looks like Yazik trying to poke his nose underneath Chris Stouffer. He's going to drop back in line. But if this goes caution-free, Cody Spiker on those fresh tires will be walking away with a good finish at least. If not, possibly being able to run down these cars in front of him. But he is going to have to make some moves quickly because the laps are starting to tick away here at Indianapolis. Just 15 laps to go.
Yeah, 15 laps to go. He's running out of time. And I know 15 laps to go on a 2.5-mile race track sounds like plenty of time, but you got to factor in how long it's going to take to get around these guys. You got to get them one at a time. Has to not get greedy. Cody Spiker has to keep his cool right now, pick his moment, and it looks like that's what he's doing right now with Tyler Seville to the inside, getting around Seville, move him into 6th now. Now he's going to go after the boss man, Will Worsler, into number 29. Troy Haight taking a peek inside as well. 2-car breakaway up at the front as Jenkins has pulled away from Stouffer as well. About half a second between Evans and Jenkins up front right now. The battle is beginning to shape up, though, for 3rd on back as the rest of the field trying to find their way around Chris Stouffer. Yazik hanging out there. Good run for Yazik. We mentioned him a couple of times tonight. Will Worsler, haven't talked about him a whole lot. His team we've talked about quite a bit. But Will Worsler himself has had a quiet night, but he's up in the top 5. Cody Spiker, though, on the fresh tires. He might be the one who can get up there and make some noise for the finish if he can get around these guys sometime in the next couple laps.
The next driver on Cody Spiker's strategy is the number 17 of Richard Stallings. He's up to the 12th position, which is 26 spots higher than where he qualified. He qualified back in 38th. So for Richard Stallings to have the run he's having here tonight, moving towards the top 10, I'm sure he's super happy with the way it has gone. He's kept that number 17 machine pretty clean, as well as a caution flag has come out. So that will change everything. Now Cody Spiker looks like his night will be done as Todd Kirkwood on the front stretch coming out of turn number 4. Let's see if we can see what happened there. Oh my goodness, he nailed the pit opening. That is just crazy. Let's see what happened here. Got into the outside wall, hit the inside wall, and bang! And right over Lee Staples.
Lee Staples, I think he's going to need a new pair of shorts for that number 26.
Yeah, there's the outside contact, and then the inside, and then right there, pit wall. And somehow, some way, the 26 machine of Lee Staples stuck underneath him.
This is the camera I wanted to see on board with Lee Staples. Let's see what he sees as he comes down the backstretch, just minding his own business. Hello.
Wow, that is about as close as you can get. That step tire machine going to stay out there on the racetrack. Doesn't look like there's any more damage. Here we go with the 3-wide TV slow-mo. Very, very close. There's that contact with the inside wall, and I thought he was going to be okay bouncing, back up the racetrack, but it just ended up hitting that wall right there. And watch Lee Staples just scoot by. Oh, man. Well, Todd Kirkwood's night, though, in the 86 machine will come to an end, and that will be unfortunate for him, just sneaking into tonight, the 40th place driver to enter tonight's race due to the number 99 of Clarence Bonner not starting. But now, like I said, that's going to change everything, because I expect a lot of these leaders to come down and take 4 fresh tires here, Greg, because there's just so much of a difference. This will give the lead to Cody Spiker. I'm sure he will stay out. But like you see, everyone coming down pit road who still has a fresh set of Goodyear tires.
Which is just about the whole field. I see 3 cars staying out up at the front. Spiker, Stykes, and I can't tell who the other one is. Richard Stallings in the 17. Meanwhile, the rest of them coming down for 4 tires and fuel. Question for the chat. We're going to have a little less than 10 laps to go when this one is restarted. Have we seen the last caution?
And we'll have to find out who's going to win the race off pit road, though, here. That could definitely change things if the number 7 was able to beat the number 2 off pit road. We've seen those two be so fast here today. Looks like Greg Evans is going to win the race off pit road handedly, over the number 7 machine. And also looked like Tyler Seville got a pretty good launch, as did Chris Stouffer in the number 13 machine. So it looks like it will be Evans, Jenkins, and Stouffer coming off pit road, but we did have 5 drivers who stayed out in the racetrack. Cody Spiker, Craig Stykes, Richard Stallings, Michael Whiting, and Tim Knott will be your top 5 if, and only if, they don't elect to come down pit road. Does look like we have had a possible black flag issued for the number 51 machine of Mitch Brown. Last week's race winner at Chicagoland Speedway has had connection issues all night long, and I believe that number 51 machine will be headed to the garage because of it. A tough break for last week's race winner, Mitch Brown, here tonight.
So Mitch Brown night coming to an end. Looks like most people in the chat saw Aunt Kathy, I saw Nikki Horsler, Doug Mullins, they all saying no. Well, Doug said it depends on what cars are still on the track. So it looks like a lot of fans here tonight thinking that we are not done with the yellow flag. And Doug Mullins said that Lee Staples looked like he was on a ride at Cedar Point with the way he had to shoot through there. So definitely an interesting one there for Lee Staples. And no doubt he would much rather be on Top Thrill Dragster than being in a simulation like that.
Yeah, Lee Staples, you saw him right at the back of the pack. He's still out there on the racetrack. He is being scored down, I believe, in the 27th position right now. Looks like he is on the lead lap. In fact, we do have 28 cars on the lead lap. First car 1 lap down is the number 50 of Christopher Bouchard. Tony Schoen, I believe, was the wave around driver, so he's going to get himself back on the lead lap in that machine. Although he is still missing a front bumper, it has not been the night Tony Schellen won it after that contact with the 04 machine of Mark Myers, who's still out there on the racetrack himself. He's 5 laps down in that machine. Got AOD Racing on that number 04 machine. But we will have 9 laps to go when we go back to green flag action here. And Greg, different players up the front now. Cody Spiker, Craig Stykes, Richard Stallings, Michael Whiting, Tim Knott on older tires. Craig Stykes on 26-lap-old tires. Cody Spiker, Stallings, Whiting, Tim Knott on 17.5-lap-old tires. And then you have the fresh tires. Drivers like Greg Evans, John Jenkins, Chris Stouffer, Brian Yazik, Tyler Seville rounding out your top 10. And it's going to be interesting to see here, Greg. You have Greg Evans on the high side in the 6th position. You got drivers on the inside like John Jenkins in the 7th position. Which line will prevail here early in the run? It could determine the outcome of this race as the pace truck is headed down pit road. We'll have to wait and see. Race in the hands of Cody Spiker. Green flag about to wave, and the green flag is out. Spiker gets us back underway. Good jump for that number 19 machine. We're going to have to watch the fresh tires. Evans going to jump to the inside of Michael Whiting. Got a huge jump. Chris Stouffer in the number 13 is going to follow Greg Evans through. Whiting getting a little bit loose in the number 14 machine. Great restart for Greg Evans in the number 2. That's what he needed.
I'm going to say what I was getting ready to say before that green flag came out. That was advantage outside because of the amount of damage that Tim Knott still had on the 41 car. John Jenkins is taking it 4 wide down the backstretch. He wants it in that number 7. He's got the 2 cleared as he had to back out of it. Evans realized they were 4 wide and said, no, thank you. Nope, I'm not getting involved in that. Now he's going to go 3 wide middle to get back around Jenkins. Look at this battle for 4th right now between Evans and Jenkins. Those are the 2 cars on fresh tires. They're going to try to split Craig Stykes. Contact, around goes Yazik and Seville.
Yazik and Tyler Seville coming back up the racetrack. Caution flag is out. More cars wrecking. Krobach on the inside wall. The 22, Jersky's going spinning as well. But the number 22 of Chris Hughes involved, that's a tough break for him. He had a good night going in that machine. And let's see how this all happened. Oh, the 55 and the 11 just coming together up off the corner, spinning up across the racetrack. Cars trying to avoid it, making matters worse in doing so. I couldn't quite see what happened here. The 11 got such a huge run on the number 55 machine. Ooh, looks like maybe Yazik got a little bit loose there. I don't know, but he was definitely checking up for the 2 in front of him as well. And unfortunately, the 11 machine gave him just a little bit of a nudge. And that was it from there. Here we go on board with Adam Jersky in the Beef Jerseys Cheesecake number 69 machine. I saw the number 14 machine of Digby got a piece of it, as did Krobach. We'll have to see what happened right here. There's a 22 to his left. And looks like they just all kind of had it coming together. They all wanted the same spot on the racetrack to avoid that accident. And it just led to them becoming their own little accident. So
You can't drop the cheesecake.
Now, that's unfortunately, I don't think we ever found out what cheesecake he was making here tonight, but unfortunately, it's going to end up smacked up against the wall in that number 69 machine. And that's a tough break for Yazik in the 11. And we saw both Seville and Yazik having great nights. So there you saw that. That's what I was saying. It looked like he got a little bit loose in that number 55 machine. When he was checking up for the cars in front of him, maybe it just unsettled the car a little bit, got a little bit loose, and the number 11 just ran into him, just didn't really have time to check up for it. We do have a bunch of cars coming down pit road who were involved in that scuffle. But up at the front, advantage number 19, Cody Spiker. These laps are going to wind down here under caution, and he's still your race leader, but he has a very fast-charging number 13 machine. I don't think we did justice for what Chris Stouffer just did there, Greg, because he went 4 wide around the outside. He sent it, absolutely sent it into turn number 3, and was able to get the 2nd position away, and was, of course, ahead of that melee behind him. And now he finds himself up in the 2nd position. Great restart for Chris Stouffer. Very, very impressive, making moves here towards the end of the race.
Explicit, send it. is what Christopher said there on that restart. It got him up into the second spot, and we'll see now if he can get around Cody Spiker. But boy, before that caution came out, we were ready to write off the 19 car as we thought that he was going to get eaten up by those cars with fresh tires. But those cars with the fresh tires are still kind of mired back there a little bit. He's going to have one restarting directly behind him in the 7 of Jenkins, the other one behind him, Greg Evans. So he may be able to get a push from those guys with fresh tires and try to get himself a big enough lead to go on defense and try to hold on. But Cody Spiker, he might have just an outside shot here at getting something here. I don't know if he's going to have enough to hold off Jenkins and Evans with how far up they already are, but it was great job there by Cody Spiker.
Do you remember where Chris Stouffer restarted this past restart, Greg? He restarted in 8th. He went from 8th to 2nd in a single lap. I don't think Cody Spiker will be able to hold him off because that was some determination from that number 13 machine. Now, the one thing he has going against him, though, is he'll be restarting on the outside, and we've seen that you really want to be down there on the inside for the restarts. The big joker in the room, though, is the number 19 and the tires he has on that car. Those are much older tires. They're 16-lap older tires than the number 13 of Chris Stouffer. Can they hold on for just a few more laps? Because pace truck lights are off. We're going to have a 5-lap shootout here at the 2.5-mile famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round 6 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And it's going to be a great finish, Greg.
I'm so excited, Peter, to see this one play out here on 3Y TV and shootout time here at the Brickyard. Final 5 laps and different strategies up front. Cody Spiker leading the way, Chris Stouffer in second. You got the fresh tires and John Jenkins. Craig Stykes, who's been a man on a mission all night in the 57. Greg Evans, who's been the dominant car. Will Worcester lined up behind his teammate. Troy Haight and Woody Mahan with good runs tonight. So many storylines up here at the front. Who's it going to be?
I don't know. We're going to find out about 5 laps from now. Is that the last caution we're going to see tonight? Will we see green-white checkers? I don't know. We're going to have to stay tuned in right here on 3Y TV. This is going to be a fantastic finish to what has been a spectacular race here tonight. Race once again in the hands of Cody Spiker, leading him down nice and slow. He's on the loud pedal, and he's going to bring the number 7 of John Jenkins to the inside of Chris Stouffer. Stouffer caught sleeping just a little bit. That inside groove getting a good jump. Jenkins now going to slot up into second. Spiker off the pace in front of him with those older tires. Jenkins right on him. Gets underneath him. Evans trying to go 3 wide to Evans in the outside wall, and caution flag will wave here. And Evans unfortunately got hit by Michael Whiting, and just like that, it has gone from a great night for Greg Evans to being absolute toast. Michael Whiting smoking, Greg Evans smoking out there on the racetrack, and Evans really thought about taking it 3 wide there up the middle when he backed out of the throttle. The number 13 of Chris Stouffer was there, and they just had a coming together right there on the racetrack. Giese getting involved, John Van Varela spinning around in it, and that will lead to another caution flag and what will presumably be a green-white checker. Watch this. The two thought about going 3 wide, and he backed out of it, and I think that caught Chris Stouffer off guard there in the number 13 machine. And just like that, caution flag waves here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Second week in a row, Greg Evans has a great night, leads the most laps, and gets caught up in a late accident. And this one's going to be a hard pill to swallow just because of the fact that it is the Brickyard. And he had far and away the fastest car here in town tonight, Peter. That is just a heartbreak for Greg Evans as he's limping that number 2 around, taking looks at it on the 3Y TV replay. Here we go on board with Michael Whiting in the number 44. And honestly, I think he's just going to have nowhere to go in this one.
Yeah, the Brookside Equipment Sales number 44 machine. Definitely getting a heavy lick of that one. Very tough break for him. And I know we've had Seth Olson in the chat here tonight rooting on the Brookside Equipment Sales number 44 machine, and not the night Michael Whiting was looking for. There's the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, going to see if they can get that machine repaired, but it's billowing out a bunch of smoke here on the front stretch. He's going to have a 30th place finish or so, but that will give the race lead to John Jenkins in the number 7 Super Clean Tough Task Cleaner and Degreaser Toyota Camry. Came in tonight as your points lead, but sitting in the 3rd position. Will Warser in the 29 machine. What can he do? As we will most likely have a green-white checker here. So going to be interesting to see if John Jenkins can hold off. Like I said, Greg, I wasn't sure if we were going to be done with cautions. We were not. We do have 3 attempts at a green-white checker here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And it does look like Greg Evans will fall 1 lap down in the duct tape number 2 machine. I'm sure he's got his hands in his head. Or his head in his hands. That's a better way to put it.
And some duct tape in his hands as well.
Well, they're trying to throw as much duct tape on that race car as possible to get it back out there. Not 100% sure whether or not that will happen. But maybe his pit crew has his head in their hands. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying here on 3 Wide TV sometime. Hopefully you're getting a chuckle out of it in the chat as John Jenkins continues to lead up at the front. And John Jenkins, Greg, we've seen so much pace out of that number 7 machine here this season. He comes into tonight as your points leader, but remember, he's only got 1 win this year, coming all the way back at Las Vegas. That was the 2nd race of the year, and just been really consistent. That's why he's got the points lead. Mr. Consistent is his name, but it'd be pretty awesome to see him win his 2nd race of the season here tonight at Indianapolis.
Been long overdue, a trip to victory lane for that number 7 car, but he has had his work cut out for him this season. But he is up to the task, leading the points right now in that number 7. He only fell out of the points lead for 1 week and then got it back. So John Jenkins has had very good consistency this season. And remember, I talked about it for a second there, Peter, about Greg Evans being caught up in an accident for the 2nd week in a row. John Jenkins last week was caught up in that same accident. It was going to be a battle between those two for the race win, as Jenkins was a little bit faster than Evans with a couple laps fresher tires, and we were shaping up to see a classic battle. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, but it looks like we are going to get to see some kind of classic here, as Jenkins leading the way, as I believe lights are going to go out on the pace car this time. And how about the guy in 5th? I saw the chat talking about him. Troy Hayton, the 28, got through that incident there, Peter. Here he is in the top 5 here, getting set for this first of 3 attempts at the green-white checkered.
Yeah, great run for Troy Hayton. Qualified in the 5th position to start this race. Fell back through the pack, and I mentioned it just after the halfway mark that he was starting to charge his way towards the front, has had a little bit of luck go his way, but he's got all 4 fenders on that race car. No damage on the P&N water filter Chevy Camaro, and I think that's going to pay dividends for him in these closing laps. Woody Mahan back up into the 4th position with a little bit of fortuitous luck. Remember, he led the race for a brief period early on. Craig Stykes, he was involved in an early accident. A lot of damage on that number 57 machine. He's up in the 6th position. Jimmy McKee, last week's runner-up, inside the top 10 in the 8th position. Richard Stallings, Alan Young, Jason Stewart rounding out the top 10. We saw that Jason Stewart has kind of had an up-down night, but he's kind of kept that number 1 machine clean. He's kind of had a quiet night here trying to look and get a top 10 finish. When this is all said and done, the 39 of Mark Cohn, he's in the 11th position. What can he do in that sim lap forward? Can he get himself a top 10? Only time will tell here, Greg, because the pace truck lights are off, and we're about to get set to go back to green flag racing. And Cody Spiker in the number 19 machine, remember, he's on the older tires. How far will he fall? Will he be able to get that good spot up towards the front? We'll find out here, Greg.
We'll see. Coming to green, white, checkered for the first shot. Keep your eyes. I'm watching that 29 of Will Worcester to see what kind of move he makes on this restart. If he can get around the 19 of Spiker in a hurry, watch for him to make a move towards turn number 1. First attempt at a green, white, checkered is green.
And good restart for Cody Spiker around that outside, but Will Worcester trying to push the number 7 machine of John Jenkins to the lead. Look at Jenkins like he got shot out of a cannon through turn number 1. The outside line as Spiker's going to hold on to the second spot. Worcester now falling back into the clutches of Woody Mahan. Mahan coming out of turn number 2, going to give a little bit of a shot to the number 19 machine.
Watch Jimmy McKee. Jimmy McKee taking a peek to the extreme inside there. Didn't get it, but got to the inside. Contact. Going into turn 3, Mahan and Worcester make contact. Spiker able to get in front of Worcester. Now Worcester to the inside. And while all this is going on, John Jenkins is scooting away. And I think if he makes it to the white flag, this was his race, because I think it's a long way back to Worcester. I don't think he has enough time to get back up there.
It is a full second between the number 7 and the number 29 machine. And look at this gaggle of cars. Spiker, oh, a little bit of contact. Spiker and Mahan having a coming together on entry. They're 3 wide coming out of turn number 1 into the short chute. Can you believe that? Troy Haight going all the way down to the bottom. He's trying to get himself a top 3 as Cody Spiker now tumbling his way through the field. All the way back now around the 10th position. And look at this battle, 3 wide down the backstretch. 53 of Broussard on the outside. Mark Cohn in the number 39 machine watching this battle. What can Troy Haight do? Can he get up into the top 3? Woody Mahan sitting in 3rd right now, but coming out of the final corner, John Jenkins in the number 7 machine, all but surely going to get win number 2 of the season. Will Worcester going to finish 2nd. Woody Mahan looks like he's going to hold on to 3rd as the number 7 crosses the yard of bricks and goes to victory lane.
Scooting away at the finish, John Jenkins uses the strategy to perfection to get the race lead on the green-white checkered and scoots away for win number 2 on the season, snaps the long winless streak. And for John Jenkins, Peter, that is a long time coming to finally break back in to the winner's circle.
Absolutely. Cody Spiker with that little bit of contact right towards the end of the race. He fell all the way down to the 12th position in the number 19 machine. And I don't think he's all too happy in that race car right now. But there is John Jenkins, super happy to pick up win number 2 of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series and take his first win in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown championship within a championship. Great job for that man right there. Definitely kept his race car super clean here tonight. Got super clean on the hood. Don't think there's even a scratch on that number 7 machine here tonight. And it'll be interesting to hear from him just how important that was to come home with the checkered flag. Getting a little bit of a congratulatory wave from his teammate Christopher Bouchard, who made his way back up into the top 20. It was a crazy night for Christopher Bouchard, and I'm sure he'll be happy to come home in the 20th position after all that was said and done. But a very interesting finish there as he's gonna burn it down right here on the yard of bricks. Fantastic look at that number 7 machine as the flag man is doing some, I don't know, shadow effects there in the smoke. That was kind of weird. But that super clean number 7 machine going to victory lane here tonight at the Brickyard and burning it down on the front stretch. Kind of reminiscent of the burnout that Kevin Hart did back around 2003. And of course, just a nudge in the wall, making sure that race car is legal. But Greg, why don't we step away here just for a brief moment, get a quick word from our sponsor. We're going to line up some interviews for you, talk to some of your top place finishers here tonight, Jenkins, Worcester, and hopefully we can also get Woody Mahan in on the action as well. We'll be right back here on 3 White TV.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to 3 Wide TV. We do have your top 3 lined up for you here for some post-race interviews, and finishing in the 3rd position here tonight is Woody Mahan. And Woody, gotta say, boy, that was a fantastic run for the number 84 machine. The pit strategy there when that caution flew right around halfway really worked out for you in that number 84 machine. Got to lead a couple of laps, and then with all the craziness that happened right there towards the end, you were able to get up into the 3rd position. Tell us about the race from your perspective.
Would definitely like to take credit for the good time of the pit stop right there, but we were almost out of fuel, so everything came right there. And I had a feeling, we all had a feeling that once one caution came out towards the end, it was going to be crazy, and that's exactly what happened. But it was intense the last couple of laps.
Absolutely. It was definitely intense. And of course, there was the number 19 of Cody Spiker, who was on older tires. In fact, when we went green with about 8 laps to go, he had a bunch of older cars up towards the front. I mean, that's always something that's going to go through your head. And definitely you had a little bit of patience to kind of pick your moves there towards the end. Tell us about what was all going through your head when you had those slower cars up front.
I was excited when I started on the outside of the 2nd row, and once we got started, I realized he didn't have tires, and I pushed him around the whole first lap. And I mean, it kind of came down to I was faster, and I was going to have to figure out a way around him. I mean, I thought about going for 2 tires there, but that seemed like a pretty dumb idea too. But yeah, I got a little rough with him, but that's the way it goes sometimes when you're on old tires.
Yeah, definitely doing what you had to walk out of this place with a top 3 finish. And that's, fantastic that you're able to walk out of this track with a top 3 finish. You have had some good runs, this season, but this is your first podium. You did finish 4th all the way back at Auto Club, round number 3 of the year. But, that's a strong performance. Tell us about how your outlook on this season has been, and how important is this top 3 finish?
It's mega important because I've had to set out 3 races due to suspensions and the strikes around here. So anytime we can get a good finish, finishing a race is a blessing sometimes, but anytime we can get a good finish for this Mahan Speed Laboratories car, we got to be happy. Drink a beer.
Absolutely, definitely got to go celebrate, because I know I would be if I was you. But next week we go to the Kentucky Speedway for the Sliced Pizza Bar Bluegrass 200. What are your thoughts about Kentucky?
Let's go. 1.5 miles, man. They are, it's what we run on most of all. So you better figure it out or you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, Kentucky's one of those racetracks, very unique, unlike any of the other 1.5 miles that we go to. Pretty flat, unique turn number 1 and 2. Versus turn number 3 and 4. So it should be a pretty awesome race. Before we let you go, Woody, you got any shout outs for us?
Big shout out to you guys. You guys do a hell of a job on here, and to the boys at LPM.
All right. Well, Woody, Good luck next week at Kentucky. We'll see if you can back up this top 3 run with another very strong run at Kentucky. Best of luck.
Thanks, boys.
All right, that was the number 84 of Woody Mahan. I do believe that Greg Rentz has caught up with tonight's runner-up, the number 29 machine of Will Worsler.
Yeah, Will Worsler, Greg Rentz, 3YTV. You got a copy.
I copy, Greg. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, and I think you're doing pretty well, so I don't have to ask you that question. You had a pretty quiet night for you. You kind of hung out right around the 10th position for most of the day, and then bingo bango here at the end, you find yourself up here in the second. Quiet run, but a great run for you.
Yeah, I knew coming into the race that I had speed. I didn't know if it was top 10 speed, top 5 speed, or if I could compete for a win in the end, or what it was, but I don't have a lot of seat time at this track. I think I've raced here twice, maybe 3 times. I remember 2, but I've been practicing a lot this week. And to be honest, as far as my team, I was probably the slowest one of the bunch. But things happened during the race to Doug, and then Stykes got aero damage that just killed his power down straightaways. And Tyler Seville had what happened to him, and just one right after the other. I kind of wound up being the front runner for WWR tonight. So, and then, the late race cautions and what happened with Greg Evans and all that. I was hoping to have an opportunity to at least mix it up with Jenkins at the end, but on that last restart coming out of 2, I had a good run on Spiker because he was on all the tires. Mahan, I think, went high and was pushing Spiker down straight away, kept him up beside me and in front of me, and by the time I got around, with 1 to go, Jenkins had a 1 second lead, and you can't give John Jenkins 1 second lead, expect anything good to happen. So it is what it is. I mean, I got second. I'm happy with it. I think I finished the race with 0 incidents in second place, and I was honestly just hoping for a top 10. So I'm happy about it. I'm less happy about how everything went for my teammates, and second place is always good.
Well, he's happy with a second, but not too happy with the way the race went for your teammates. But tell us about when you kind of realized that, okay, if Will Worsler Racing is going to have a good finish, it's going to have to be me. At what point did you kind of flip the switch and go from team owner to, okay, I got to go 100% driver for this team right now?
Well, there was a point, and I'm not going to lie, dude, it all went by so fast. I don't even know when it was or how many laps to go, but I was behind Tyler Seville before he wrecked. And he was like, man, I think I'm falling off a little bit, and you're always faster in the long run, so if you get a run, take it. And so I did. And I felt I felt like then that it was kind of up to me, but stuff happened with the cautions. He passed me on pit road, and he's right back out front, and he'd been faster than me all week, so I was just going to follow him. But then whatever happened, I'm going to have to go back and look at it, but whatever happened with him and Yazek happened, that kind of anointed me after that, because I know Stykes was dying on straightaways.
Well, Will, a race here at Indianapolis with a second place, and you mentioned you didn't have a lot of seat time here, but next week going to Kentucky, 1.5 mile oval, and you excited to head to the Bluegrass State?
I feel good about Kentucky, but at the same time, I also feel like over half the league feels good about Kentucky. It's it's 1.5 miles, so most everybody feels comfortable there. This package, as we all know, was designed to run at these, so. We'll see how it goes. It's the kind of place where it's kind of hard to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And if you get, like what happened to Stykes tonight, if you get any kind of dent on your fender, then it can ruin your night. So we'll see. But, I am looking forward to it.
All right, second place here at the Brickyard, and it's got to feel good. So we know you got some sponsors on the side of the car. So who you got? Who you want to thank?
Yeah, man, I need to thank Slice Pizza Bar and Perky Pints. I need to thank my wife always. She's always in the race chat, talking me up or talking me down, depending on my performance. And got to thank all my teammates at WWR, man. I got a lot of guys that helped me a lot this week. They were all faster than me. And got a little bit of practice time. We've been splitting some time with the turn driver, AJ Digby, and he's really good at this track, and he gave me a lot of pointers and stuff. And, so all my teammates, Doug, Tyler, Craig, Richard Fletcher wouldn't be here tonight. Missed racing with him. Look forward to racing with him again. And as always, Jim and Sam, putting on the league. And 3YTV, you guys are the best in the business, in my book.
At second place, Will Worsler, after a good run, comes home with a second. Congratulations, Will.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Craig. You guys have a good night.
And I believe Peter Short has made his way down to probably the most famous victory lane in all of racing, Indianapolis Motor Speedway victory lane, where he is here with tonight's Brickyard 200 winner, John Jenkins.
That I have. And John, go get yourself a glass of milk if you haven't already, because congratulations, you've gone to victory lane here at the Brickyard, your second win on the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series season. It was a crazy finish here tonight. Much like what happened last week at Chicagoland, everything kind of blew up right at the end, but luckily for you this week, it worked out to your advantage. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Yeah, I wish I would have had a glass of milk to start the race. The dump wall main down here in the basement. But I want to first off say, there at the end, I don't know, I went back and looked at it. Hello?
There you go, John.
Oh, sorry about that. Before I get into the beginning, I went back and looked at Greg and Cody and all that fiasco there at the end. I knew Cody was to my outside, so when he moved up, I moved up a little, but I never seen Greg try to get into the middle there. But all I seen was him broadside, so I didn't even know. I think when I came up just a little bit, when the 19 did, Greg backed out, and the 13 was already committed to turning. I hate it for Greg there. He had a pretty good race leading up to that point. I was really surprised there, that last restart with being the leader. You're pretty much sometimes a set and duck on the backstretch off of 2, and talked to Will there before in the waiting room. That if he got caught on the inside of Cody and Woody was up there, it ruined his momentum. So by the time they got to turn 3, he was underneath Cody battling. So lost all that speed to get back up with me. But good run for him and Woody. I know there's some other guys running pretty well that got caught up in some things that were going to have a good finish and probably deserved one. But the beginning, I just kind of rode there and picked them off one by one. Just wanted to be there, keep the car clean.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. You know, we saw a lot of cars, especially in the first half of the race, make contact with the outside wall, especially coming out of turn number 2. It looked like turn number 2 was Calamity Corner, so to speak. A lot of cars hit the outside wall, damaged up the right front. At the end of the race, I started looking through the field at the drivers who'd kept their cars clean, like yourself, like Will Worsler, like Troy Haight, and they had all gotten themselves up towards the top 5. How important is it on a racetrack like this to keep your car clean in order to get to the end and have a shot at winning?
It's super important because, like, aero's so much at this place, and if you lose any kind on the straights, you're going to get run over, just blown by. So that was like the most. I was talking to my team, Brandon, on our team channel. He's seen it too. It was like the freakiest thing. Like everybody just all of a sudden went to the wall, and I seen 3-4 cars bounce off of it, go to the inside, and I thought my night was done there. But fortunately, nothing happened until afterwards, after I got by. But yeah, aero is super huge. Fortunate enough just to keep the car, keep the front tires on it. And when you were out by yourself, the car was actually kind of loose. But like if you're behind somebody, it was just plowing.
Yeah, the aero push always on a racetrack like this going to come into effect. But you did finish with clean air on the nose of that number 7 machine, the super clean machine, getting it done here tonight. Next week we go to Kentucky for the Slice Pizza Bar Bluegrass 200. Of course, Kentucky isn't 100% similar to Vegas, but at least from the air, they're very similar, or at least similarly shaped. Very different banking and different ends of the racetrack even. But you got your first win of the season back at Las Vegas, and I expect you to be fairly strong at Kentucky. Do you like racing at Kentucky?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I want to say we're racing at the new one. Look later in the week. Follow up with somebody. I did a few laps on the new Kentucky. Seems alright. I like the old one. Either way, if you got to run on it, should be fun.
Yeah, it is indeed the new Kentucky, I do believe. So it will be interesting to see how that track has been recently repaved, reconfigured, and all that good jazz. But before we let you go, John, you got any shout-outs for us here on 3-Wide TV?
Yeah, shout out to my teammates. Brandon had bad luck tonight. Chris, I don't know how he did what he did. He left the session, connection issues, and come back and had no right side tires left because iRacing did a good deed for him, I guess. Somehow he finished in 20. Jordan Berry, he does so much for us. Paints together, even for multiple teams. Pretty cool deal. If you ever need a paint, just hit him up. Super cleans on the car. Nice to have them. Thanks to Jim, Sam, they worked butts off. Put this league together and everything goes into it. I think this is one of the SERVPRO races. So that's a pretty cool deal. It's the first one I've won. Greg's been pretty dominant. But that's broadcasting. Every day, either the day after, like tomorrow or the next day, I watch the whole broadcast all the way through. I absolutely enjoy it. So, all the league partners, Hacksaw for sponsoring the Premier Series. That's pretty much it.
Well, John, at least this week you didn't have to run downstairs and flip the breaker a couple of times to get to victory lane. But congratulations on picking up win number 2 of the season. And we'll see you next week for more American Sim Racing Hacksaw PC's action at Kentucky. Best of luck.
Yeah, we'll see if somebody doesn't turn on the tanning bed.
Well, we'll talk to you then. All right, Greg, a great race here tonight. Let's see if we can dial up the final race rundown. And it was the number 7 machine taking home the checkered flag of John Jenkins, win number 2 on the season. First one coming all the way back in the second race of the year at Las Vegas. Will Worcester coming home in second here tonight in the number 29 machine. Will Worcester trying to pick up his second win of the season, just came up one spot short here tonight. Woody Mahan, great run in that number 84 machine, came into tonight 16th place in points. I'm sure that will do good for his points battle, especially with him missing a couple of races this year. Troy Haight in the number 28 machine, great race for him. He qualified in the 5th position, got himself a top 4 finish right at the end. Definitely kept his car clean and was able to come away with a good finish because of it. Jimmy McKee coming home in 5th. Another good finish for Jimmy McKee. Remember, he was runner-up last week, so back-to-back top 5s for the number 8 McKee Lawn Care Services machine. I'm sure he'll be happy coming away with a top 5. Alan Young, very quiet night from Alan Young, but I'll tell you what, coming home in 6th with a little bit of right front damage on the number 24 machine. I'm sure he'll be happy with that. John Broussard coming home in 7th. Mark Cohn in 8th. And Jason Stewart coming home 9th. Sam Crow 10th. And I do believe Mark Cohn, he's done near on 900 laps around this Indianapolis Motor Speedway over the last few weeks. Something ridiculous like that. And Mark Cohn, I think he finished about 50 laps short of the entire distance that he could have done. I think it was in his Lotus 79 Retro Lionheart Series where he didn't quite finish that race. But a great job by Mark Cohn. And I believe it was actually 950 miles, not laps, that he was able to complete around this place. But nonetheless, Mark Cohn finishing inside the top 10 here tonight. And the 11th place finisher here tonight. Greg, take it away.
11th place goes to Brian Yazik in the number 11. Led a couple laps earlier in the race, but got caught up in a late race incident and rallies back to finish 11th. With Cody Spiker, after being on the front row for the final restart, falls all the way to 12th. Adam Jersky, the Cheesecake, comes home in the 13th position, with AJ Digby matching his car number in 14th place. Craig Stykes, a good run early, led 4 laps in the middle of the race. Unfortunately for him, the old tires wear out as he comes home 15th, with Richard Stallings behind him. Lee Staples, after going for the roller coaster ride with the head chopper, comes home 17th. Tyler Seville, another strong run for him. Unfortunately, it ends in an accident in 18th position, with Chris Hughes and Christopher Bouchard rounding out the top 20.
Yeah, we heard from John Jenkins that Bouchard, down pit road, his first pit stop on lap number 11, iRacing took 6 tires away from him out of the 8 fresh tires he was allotted for the race. Don't know what happened there, but he had to run the last 70 laps of the race with only 2 fresh tires to be able to put on the car. So great job for him to come away with the top 20 here tonight. 21st position, Tim Knott in the number 41 machine. We saw him involved in an accident. Tony Schoen also involved in an accident, comes home 22nd. Alex Giese coming home 23rd. Michael Krobach 24th. John Van Varellis comes home in 25th. In the number 78 machine, Grant Brown in 26th. The last car on the lead lap. Mark Myers finishes in the 27th position, 4 laps down. Greg Evans, we saw him lead 42 laps, but involved in that late race accident with the number 13 of Christopher, who finishes 1 spot behind him, as well as the number 44 of Michael Whiting, who unfortunately wasn't able to get back out there on the racetrack in the Brookside Equipment sales machine. But a very strong night for that number 2 machine, once again ending up on the back of a flatbed. And Greg, definitely not the way he wanted to finish out this race, but why don't you finish out the top 40 of tonight's race?
If I could get the results back up, there we go. Coming home in 31st was Mitch Brown in the number 51, with Todd Kirkwood in 32nd. Kelsey Rogers 34th after an incident. Pete Baskins also crashed out early. It finishes 34th. Brandon Stokes out of the race, 35th. Jordan Harnish, 36th. Jackson Van Valkenburg, Ed Bray, Doug Mullins, and Jonathan Holstein, your final finishing order in this one. Peter, it was a wild race here at the Brickyard.
Absolutely, but nonetheless, a fantastic race. Make sure you join us next week here on 3Y TV for more action from the American Sim Racing Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, where we have the Slice Pizza Bar Bluegrass 200. But we got to give a few shout-outs before the end of tonight's race as well. Got to give a shout-out to SERVPRO for putting together the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. The winner of this championship within a championship will receive a steering wheel and very, very cool prizes that have been put up by SERVPRO. So go check them out. They can clean up all of your COVID-19 issues. So if you need to sanitize a place, go check out SERVPRO. As well as our friends over at ZD Sim Racing, American Regardless, Glassdoor Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Croker Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing, Step Tire, and Falcon Race Wraps for sponsoring certain races throughout the season, as well as supporting the American Sim Racing Series. Also, before we go, got to give a few shout-outs from our friends over at SimTV for the camera package that we use here tonight. We added a couple other cameras to it, I do believe, but nonetheless, SimTV definitely helped us out here on 3Y TV. Go check them out. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Evans, not Greg Evans. What am I talking about, Greg?
I'll take Greg Evans. I'll take 6 wins on the season in the ASRS. I'll take that honor.
Myself, Peter Short, Greg Renz. I've been saying Greg Evans too much here tonight, Craig. Myself, Peter Short, Greg Renz, and of course, Carlos Costa, who mans the cameras each and every week. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, right here on 3Y TV for more American Sim Racing Series action. And we'll see ya!